a step up in weight classes. They welcome in the Big Ten's Nebraska Cornhuskers to Wichita this weekend. My name is Denny Garrick, alongside Tim Slack here at Tyler Field at X Stadium. And Tim, a couple sweeps for Wichita State, but they have come in dramatically different fashions. Nonetheless, a 6-0 start.
Well, the Shockers got it with the bats down in Louisiana, but then they turned around here at Wichita and were able to hold on to a couple of wins because of their pitching. Starters got deep in the game, kept the bullpen rested, and that allowed the Shockers to close out 3 wins here at X Stadium.
Freshman Liam Eddy has been a revelation in the Saturday role for Wichita State. 7 shutout innings in his home debut. Connor Lungwitz had a nice bounce-back outing on Sunday. And how about Tommy Barnhouse really settling into his role at the back end?
Well, the Saturday and Sunday spots for the Shockers are so important in the starting rotation to keep that bullpen available for midweek, keep arms fresh. And they were able to do that and get the ball to Tommy Barnhouse, who was able to get outs in the 8th and 9th inning, and that helped preserve some wins for the Shockers.
There wasn't a whole lot of offense from Wichita State last weekend, but what they did get came from their most reliable sources, Grayson Genesta and Alec Boehm, going back-to-back on back-to-back pitches, and some other guys in the lineup contributing as well.
Well, when the catalysts get going, like you have Jordan Boyer out of the 9 spot, and then whoever's hitting in the leadoff spot, when they contribute, that's going to be important because people already fear Genesta and Boehm.
It's the Shockers at 6-0 against the Cornhuskers at 5-3. We've got starting lineups next on WSU TV.
Got a quarter?
Wichita State trying to match their 7-0 start from a year ago this afternoon at X Stadium, in a beautiful sun-splashed afternoon here at X Stadium in Wichita, Kansas. Can't ask for much better in early March in the Midwest. 64 degrees, but there is plenty of wind to worry about 20 miles an hour out to left field. It's Wichita State and the Nebraska Cornhuskers doing battle in the first of a 3-game series. Wichita State will look like this defensively, 1 through 9 around the horn. In the outfield, there's a couple of different guys who can really go get it out there. Good speed with Travis Young out in left field. Grayson Genesta also really improving as a center fielder. Dayton Dugas is in right. Then around the horn on the infield, it's Alec Boehm at third. Jordan Boyer continues to handle shortstop while Trey Vickers is out with an injury. Luke Ritter at second base. Mason O'Brien back at first, and it's Gunnar Troutwine behind the plate as junior right-hander Cody Hoyer takes to the bump for his 3rd straight Friday night start for Wichita State. Hoyer will be facing this Nebraska lineup. The Cornhuskers come in 5-3 in the early season test for them. They have played a lot of neutral site games to begin their 2018 campaign, and there you see the starting lineup 1 through 9 for Nebraska. Scott Schreiber, the big name to watch there in the 3-hole, one of the best power hitters not only in the Big Ten but in the entire country. It'll be Angelo Alzavilla to lead off for the Cornhuskers against Cody Hoyer. Ready to get this one underway. Hoyer's first pitch is strike. We get underway at 3:02 p.m. Central Standard Time. Wichita State comes in at 6-0 after sweeps of their first 2 series on the road at McNeese State and at home against the Omaha Mavericks. Cody Hoyer, 5 innings in each of his first 2 starts. Tim, he has had flashes where he has looked like the best guy on this Wichita State staff. Then he has had issues finding the strike zone. When he's at his best, he can be electric.
He's got power stuff, and we're seeing that big fastball early.
But he can change speeds as well. Has a pretty nice changeup that they're trying to get him to be able to use as a feature pitch. But the power numbers are there. 12 strikeouts in 10 innings of work. But the walk numbers are also there as well. And that's a big thing that he's going to try and limit today.
Altavilla grounds it to the right side. Easy hop for Ritter, who's tossed on to first, is in time, and it's 1 up and 1 down for the Cornhuskers here in the top of the first. This is a Nebraska offense that has really struggled swinging the bat, at least in the early going. Just a .216 team average, and not much power to speak of as well. Only 2 home runs for them through these first 8 games.
They're still searching for an identity quite a bit, and they've tried moving some of the puzzle pieces around, see what fits best. But they have some big bats in there, especially when you look at Scott Schreiber, who you mentioned, and then Jesse Wilkening is a great hitting catcher.
Mojo Hagge takes up and away. This is a guy who they've been kind of waiting to get going early on this year. He was kind of the spark plug a year ago. A walk-on freshman who made his way towards the top in the Nebraska order, batting in the 2-hole here this afternoon. Hoyer skips one down and inside. Hagge hitting at just 143 in the early going. No homers and 4 RBI.
Like you said, Darren Erstad and club waiting for Hagge to get going because he's a left-handed bat that splits up a lot of the righties that they rely on, as well as the switcher Altavilla at the top of the lineup.
Schreiber and Wilkening, both righties to follow. There's a strike from Hoyer, 93 miles an hour across the outside edge. 2-1.
Cody's arm looks lively today. First pitch of the game was 96. He can slow down to 93. I wish I could slow down to 93.
It's all about, I feel like, the secondary stuff for him, though. The fastball is always going to be there. If he can locate something else, he becomes a lot better. There's 94 again.
That's a big reason why the emphasis with him has been a lot on his changeup. Guys are trying to figure out and sniff out the timing of his fastball. And when he's able to add and subtract on that fastball and then back it up with the changeup, he becomes very difficult to hit.
2-2, missed up and away at 95. And so clearly the plan of attack against Hagge is the hard stuff. A lot of fastballs from Hoyer to start.
Well, Mojo's a younger guy. He's a sophomore. They put some responsibility on him hitting in the top 3 spots. And Wichita State's answer early is to overpower him.
3-2. Misses down and inside, and Hagge works himself a 1-out walk, representing the game's first base runner.
Well, this is kind of the thing that we talked about with Cody Hoyer. It's the plus, and then you get some of the minus. When he's searching for that command, especially early, he'll labor, he'll get that pitch count up. When he's aggressive and he just attacks and kind of trusts the stuff a little bit more, he's able to limit the pitch count, work a little bit deeper into ball games.
He looked really good through 4 innings against Omaha, facing just 2 over the minimum before running into trouble in the 5th when he allowed 3 runs. Swing and a miss. Good breaking ball there as he took something off and had Schreiber out in front.
That was nasty, and Schreiber's looking for the fastball there and had all the weight dedicated towards that fastball. That's a 14-mile-an-hour difference from what you're timing in the batter's box to the first pitch slider that you end up seeing, and Schreiber let it fly just way off the beaten path.
Schreiber, a first-team All-Big Ten selection a year ago. There's a strike. Must have been looking for something else as 96 runs across the inside edge, 0-2.
That's a tough way to back it up. 81 and then jump up to 96. Even the best hitters in the country are going to have a hard time with that one.
Well, Schreiber certainly fits that description. He even took a step back in terms of his power numbers a year ago, as his sophomore season was one of the best in Nebraska history. 325, 16 homers as he takes upstairs. Last year, 7 round trippers, but he still hit .330. Added 15 doubles and 51 RBI, and just a name that's going to be at the top of every single opposing scouting report.
Well, and this Nebraska team is not shy of star power. They're not shy of guys who are on scouts' radars for the MLB draft in June, guys who've been drafted, and Schreiber is one of those guys, if not the leading name on that list.
Down and outside, runner trying for second. Throw down by Troutwines in plenty of time, and Hagge cut down.
We saw this last week in Omaha. Tried to go on a ball that was in the dirt, and as a base runner, you're taught read down angle. So you're reading the plane of the ball coming out of the pitcher's hands, and you're going to see the jump. This is a way late jump, Troutwine already had it secure, and he just throws it on the money to Luke Ritter at second.
So Hoyer now with the bases empty. His 2-2 lined into right field, and that's going to be in for a base hit and moving towards the alleyway. And how big is that runner being cut down now as Dugas fires it back in? Schreiber's going to pull in with a double, but it may be 1-0 Nebraska.
It should be 1-0 Nebraska. That is where that just ends up hurting Nebraska, because you're taking an unnecessary risk on a ball that you didn't get a good read on. That's maybe some youth there from Hagee too, but you have to give credit to Schreiber. He's a great hitter. We talked about it as Hoyer started him off with a couple of pitches. He hangs with it through that entire bat, finds a pitch to drive, and finds a gap.
So now it's Wilkening, who has had a red-hot start to 2018, hitting at .346. Hoyer jumps ahead, 0-1. Has one of the 2 Nebraska home runs, and he leads this club with 9 RBI, the junior backstop.
So it's interesting when your catcher is one of your better hitters, because it typically means that they kind of do it all, fit that leadership profile as well. And he gets a lot of responsibility thrust in the middle of the lineup.
There's a strike from Hoyer, and he's ahead, 0-2.
He's also not a big guy, listed at 5'10". It's one of those that you say, maybe it's a little generous, but he's a solid hitter as well. He's not a guy who really tends to lean outside of his zone too much. He knows exactly where he's trying to approach the ball and where in the zone he wants to get a pitch to hit, but Hoyer's able to already gain the leverage against him.
You mentioned one of a couple guys who have been drafted previously. Wilkening went in the 28th round to the Diamondbacks back in 2015, elected not to sign. Hoyer's 0-2, foul tipped, and looked like Wilkening's backswing got a piece of Gunnar Troutwine. Everybody's okay, and still no balls and 2 strikes. And 1 home run from Wilkening has already matched his season total from a year ago, and he has had an excellent start to the season, recording hits in 6 of the first 8 ball games for the Cornhuskers. Hoyer in the driver's seat at 0-2. Bounce to the left side. Big hop for Alec Bohm, who sets his feet, tosses across. O'Brien has to lay a tag down, but it's in time, and Wichita State gets out of the top of the first unscathed. A 1-out walk, a 2-out double, but nothing across for Nebraska. Onward to the home half we go. No score on WSU TV.
Hi. You think you're probably sober?
Yeah.
But you're thinking about taking the back roads home, just in case. Why would you do that?
Probably okay isn't okay. Call a cab, a car, or a friend.
Good choice.
Wichita State University is preparing today's students to become tomorrow's leaders. The Shock the World campaign is raising $25 million in private funds for a new home for the W. Frank Barton School on the Innovation Campus. Invest today in tomorrow's business leaders by calling 316-978-4076 or visit www.wichita.edu/shocktheworld.
A somewhat shaky top of the first inning for Cody Hoyer, but he gets some help from his catcher Gunnar Troutwine, gunning down a runner trying to advance to second. Works around a 2-out double from Scott Schreiber. This was the big play in the top of the first, a ball in the dirt in which Mojo Hagee thought he had a good read on it, but Gunnar Troutwine, the senior, coming up with a big play, and we're scoreless into the home half.
Well, Price saved a run because Scott Schreiber ended up doubling, and with nobody on base, there was no damage done. So the Shockers were able to catch a break. A great block by Troutwine. You're going to see the throw waiting for Hagee as he gets down to second base.
The Shockers will send up Alex Jackson, Grayson Genesta, and Alec Bohm in the bottom half of this first inning against Nebraska right-hander Luis Alvarado. A very interesting story that Tim and I will talk about quite a bit as we go along, but all you need to know for now is this guy has an electric arm, a great athlete. He was a reliever a season ago, working at the back end of the bullpen, has converted to their Friday night role, and has been very good so far.
Well, interesting is just the tip of the iceberg with Alvarado, a guy out of Puerto Rico, came to Nebraska even though he was drafted by the Boston Red Sox, and he just kind of keeps changing his role and keeps having success in whatever role he takes on, and now he's their Friday night guy for the Cornhuskers.
It's left-hand hitting Alex Jackson to get the bottom half of the first inning underway. And Alvarado deals a strike on the outside edge, 0-1. Nebraska looks like this defensively. Hagee, Hallmark, Schreiber left to right in the outfield. Roscom, Altavilla, Henwood, Rapinski around the horn on the infield. The catcher is Jesse Wilkening. Swing and a miss. Good changeup. Had Jackson out front, 0-2.
A lot of pieces that the Cornhuskers have moved around defensively. Roscom, who started most of the time last year at third base, getting his first start of the year at third base here today.
Alvarado working out of the full windup, drops another breaking ball. This one stays down and in. You mentioned, Tim, how Alvarado has changed his role. We're not just talking about as a pitcher. This is a two-way guy who is legitimately a regular piece in the Nebraska outfield a year ago, both a left fielder and a center fielder, and he'll see some time out in the field when he's not pitching this year. Jackson into left field, but he got it a little bit off the end of the bat. Hagee has to make a running catch, but it's 1 up and 1 down for Wichita State here in the home half of the first.
Well, Alvarado started out as purely a hitter for Nebraska and kind of worked his way into larger responsibility in the lineup, and then it was almost like he went to Darren Erstad last year and said, you know what, I'm not being challenged enough. Why don't I start closing games and coming out of the bullpen as well? He did so well that he was on the NCBWA watch list for stopper of the year this year, but he's not even the closer.
There was a 94 miles an hour right down the chute to Genesta. He was electric last year, no two ways about it. 1.72 ERA in 16 appearances. Foul back. And you wonder if Erstad was thinking, I have to use this guy more. He only threw 15 2/3 innings, and you want to get an arm out there like his as much as possible.
Yeah, if you see the success, he only allowed 3 runs all of last season. He's already done that in 2 starts, but the stuff is still there, and it still translates very well.
Changeup fades away to Genesta, hitting at 273, entering play today. There you see the 3 home runs, and went to the opposite field against Nebraska Omaha last weekend. He's got big time power to all fields. Evens it up at 2-2.
You know, as we were walking around today, Grayson was just kind of in a casual conversation mode and pulls you into a conversation. And he'll say, you know, anytime you're outside and you get to come to the office like this, it can never be a bad day. The eternal optimist that it's also moonlighting as the Shocker center fielder.
Well, it is not a bad day here in Wichita. You take what you can get in early March. Alvarado tried a breaking ball, but it never quite came around. 3-2. Last weekend, early against Omaha, it was brutal. It was cold and windy and made offense difficult to come by. 3-2 on the outside edge. Genesta taking a couple steps towards first base, but he's rung up by home plate umpire Matt Anderson.
Well, close pitch, payoff pitch. You think that you got to be in fight mode, and this is a ball. Didn't have to be on the outside edge, but home plate umpire Matt Anderson said it was, and Genesta was already out of the box. Kind of sometimes as a hitter you can hurt yourself by kind of pulling out too soon, and I think Genesta might have been guilty of that there.
Bohm takes the pitch that just missed, 1-0, and I think getting a look at that replay, you wonder if Genesta may have had a beef. Fastball that just near the outside edge, and Wilkening did a good job of presenting it. Bohm lashes it on the ground towards shortstop. Gobbled up by Altavilla. His throw on to first in time, and the Shockers are gone 1-2-3 in the bottom half of the first inning. We'll move onward to the top half of the second. No score here at X Stadium on WSU TV.
Look at you. You're at the top of your game. You're unstoppable. Nothing can throw you off track. Wait, is that your car? Uh-oh. I saw that coming. That will throw you off track. You're looking at around 10 grand in fines, legal fees, and increased insurance rates. Let's try this again. Smart move. Because buzz driving is drunk driving.
Charles Koch Arena is the place where we gather as a community to compete against the very best. Now our game plan is to renovate Koch Arena by adding a new student-athlete success center. Your tax-deductible gift can help deliver that slam dunk. Join us at the level that is right for you. Donate online at wichita.edu/shocktheworld.
No score into the top half of the second inning here at X Stadium. And of course, the Shockers making their inaugural voyage through the American Athletic Conference. And there are a lot of Shocker fans who probably aren't too familiar with the baseball programs here in the AAC. So here's a look at how they finished up a year ago. Of course, you're going to see a lot of quality in the top third of this conference. UCF, Houston, UConn, and USF, all legitimate regional teams. You got ECU down at the bottom, which of course was a super regional team 2 years ago. They took a step back, but bottom line, there are a lot of good baseball teams in this conference.
Well, I was going to mention ECU's already off to a 6-1 start, so they're right there with the Shockers at the top of the standings right now before we get into American Conference play. But there's a lot of good teams, a lot of good players that we're going to get to highlight throughout this American Conference season.
Cody Hoyer got some help from his defense to work a scoreless first. He contends with Luke Roscom to start this top half of the second inning and deals high and away for ball one. Roscom, Hallmark, Athey, left, right, left, due up for the Cornhuskers here in the top of the second.
Already seeing Darren Erstead as he draws out his lineups here in the first. This is the 9th game for the Shockers, so through the first 8, the way he's lined it up, he has been pushing and pulling pieces and seeing exactly how it all fits together.
Hoyer's 2-0 is smacked to the gap in right center field. Genesis is going to try and cut it off, but he won't be able to do so as it goes all the way to the wall. And pulling into second base with a stand-up double is Luke Roscom to get things started for Nebraska here in the top of the second.
Well, a couple of really loud doubles so far for Nebraska. This is their second hit for the Cornhuskers, and you're going to see a ball that Roscom just left-hand swing, gets it down kind of around mid-thigh and just drives it into the gap, and he knows he's hustling for 2 the whole way out of the box.
First double of the season for Roscom, and he's in scoring position with nobody out for Jackson Hallmark, the freshman who has been an excellent addition to this Cornhusker lineup in the early going. We'll see if Erstad is thinking about a bunt. No sign of it there as Hoyer deals a strike.
They let this kid swing, and you look at a freshman who's patrolling center field, already given opportunities to drive in runs. They trust him a lot, and they're trusting him to be in the spot and carry some weight behind some of the big boppers that have been around the program for a few years.
Hoyer tried a breaking ball and missed 1-1. Saw the .320 average for the freshman from Midland, Texas. A guy who may have been a little bit more highly touted as a pitcher, interestingly enough. In high school had a ERA just above 1, but the Cornhuskers trying him out at several different positions here in the early going, and he has paid off that confidence. Hoyer's next, just missed. Close pitch, and the right-hander from Colorado not getting the call. 2 balls and a strike. First of a 3-game series here in Wichita. The next 2 ball games both getting underway at 2 o'clock on Saturday and Sunday. Swinging a foul tip. Hoyer gets 93 miles an hour past the bat of Hallmark. 2-2.
Well, we're already seeing Cody have to labor a little bit. Pitch count is high, and that's always a concern with Hoyer. But one of the things with his power stuff, he's trying to get into leverage counts a lot, and it's almost like Nebraska's approach has been, we want to see about 2-3 pitches. We might offer some swings at it, but every guy is getting about 3-4 pitches that they're able to see in the lineup. And what that does, that's going to make it a challenge to get through the second time.
Got him looking. Hoyer rings up Hallmark in a big first out as he gets it in at the top of the belt for his first strikeout of the afternoon.
That's just paint, top part away, right about the belt, and Hallmark, I think, was thinking he might see another off-speed pitch, but Hoyer relying with the stuff that he has, and that's that power fastball.
So now it's designated hitter Jeff Athey making his third start of the season and still in search of his first hit. And Hoyer throws 95 right by the bat, 0-1. We got two right-handers who are going to run it up there this afternoon. Alvarado was working consistently into the low 90s as well. Hoyer has been as high as 96 in the early going.
And there's a little bit difference in styles, though. Alvarado relies a lot on his movement. Hoyer's going to come right after you.
Fouled away, another late swing, 0-2. And to your point, I think Alvarado, you can just see visibly the two-seam movement he's able to generate with his fastball. Cody Hoyer, I have heard hitters describe his as that rising type of fastball where it just explodes on you. Neither one easy to hit at all, but just different.
I was going to say, I mentioned I wish I could slow down to 93. He just generates so much power and so much spin with that fastball. Have to wonder which way that movement is going to go coming out of his hands.
He leans Athey out of the way, 1-2 strikes. You got two guys here in the 7 and 8 spots in the Nebraska order who do not have a hit yet on the season. Athey and the man to follow, Rapinski, a combined 0 for 17. So Erstad looking for some options down towards the bottom third of this order. And Tim alluded to earlier how this Nebraska lineup has been in flux. It's not only that, it's been the pitching staff in flux. They have been hammered by injuries in the early going, and in a lot of ways searching for answers. 1-2. Check swing. Did he go around? Yes, he did. Back-to-back strikeouts for Cody Hoyer as he gets Athey to chase up and out of the strike zone, and now there's two men down.
Well, we'll see the payoff pitch here. Is a fastball up around the zone. You can almost see from the center field cam the offer there. It seemed it's always tough from the straight on angle to see if a guy is able to hold up, but the intent is what an umpire is looking for, and I think the intent was pretty clear there.
So after the leadoff double, Cody Hoyer has responded in a big way. 2 punch-outs, and now it's up to Zach Rapinski. Takes a strike, 0-1. Here's a second look at that check swing from Athey.
I'll get the side angle, and there you see the intent. Oh, yeah. Way beyond what you would call the plane, but the intent definitely there. Tried to throw the brakes on a little too late.
So difficult to lay off. That eye-high offering can look so tempting. Hoyer missed in tight, 1-1.
You know, go back to your point about how Erstad has been trying to structure these lineups for the Cornhuskers. I think a big part of it, it almost seemed like Nebraska, in anticipation of the season, made a lot of moves to let Alvarado be the Friday night starter. We'll talk about their closer at some point this weekend, who was the Friday night starter last year. And then another guy who split some of the closing duties with Alvarado last season, Linsman, is one of those guys you mentioned who's down with injury. So there have been all sorts of questions that Erstad kind of is trying to prevent and be a little bit more active before things become bigger problems for the Cornhuskers.
2 balls and 2 strikes, and you got 5 major arms for the Cornhuskers that are down right now due to injury, and that includes Jake McSteen, who is supposed to be the Saturday guy for them. Instead, it's going to be Nate Fisher, a left-hander, tomorrow against Liam Eddy. Connor Lungwitz and Matt Warren, a couple right-handers, will tangle on Sunday. But a lot of valuable arms, including Chad Linsman, who is supposed to be the closer, down for the season already. Foul back got in on the hands of Rapinski, and we'll do it again at 2-2.
Well, and everybody talks about year-round baseball lending itself to a lot of these injuries for guys, but I think ultimately, you know, you just sometimes can never know and never prepare for when some of these injuries are going to strike. Guys are getting bigger, faster, stronger all the time, and we're seeing that, and we're seeing guys maybe put a lot of stress on their bodies early on.
Just missed below the knees as Cody Hoyer looked to strike out the side. Couldn't get the call from Matt Anderson, and it's run full as Rapinski has put together a good at-bat.
That was filthy. That was a great pitch, and especially after the mid-90s fastballs that Hoyer throws up there. That was 88 with a lot of sink, and just couldn't quite get the call, but there was nothing Rapinski was going to do with that pitch.
Hoyer's 3-2. Foul back, just getting a piece is Rapinski, and this is starting to work into something that Tim mentioned, and that's the pitch count. Already 41 offerings on the afternoon for Hoyer. He threw 85 in his season opening start against McNeese State, 91 against Omaha. In both cases, only got through 5 innings. So Todd Butler and Mike Steele in the Wichita State dugout, I'm sure, would prefer Cody be a little bit more pitch efficient out there. Got a big pitch upcoming. 3 balls and 2 strikes to Rapinski. Here it is. Missed away.
Well, simple math just tells you if it takes 42 pitches to get 5 outs, then to get 10 outs is going to take you 84 pitches if you continue along the same path. But for Hoyer, it always seems like the first time through the lineup, he's feeling hitters out a little bit more. And on the other side of things, most times it's the hitters trying to feel the pitcher out the first time through the order. So he kind of gets that pitch count elevated sometimes in the first 3 innings, and then he starts to settle in. As he matures and continues to develop, you're going to see him really try and get guys out in those first 3 pitches that first time through the order, save some of those pitches for the middle innings.
Little squibber off the end of the bat. Bohm charges, gloves, throws on the run, and he gets Henwood by a step and a half. Good job by Cody Hoyer to work his way around the leadoff double and the 2-out walk. We move to the bottom half of the second. Still no score here at X Stadium on WSU TV.
Wichita State University is preparing today's students to become tomorrow's leaders. The Shock the World campaign is raising $25 million in private funds for a new home for the W. Frank Barton School on the Innovation Campus. Invest today in tomorrow's business leaders by calling 316-978-4076 or visit www.wichita.edu/shocktheworld.
Dayton Duga, Luke Ritter, Mason O'Brien, middle third of the order due up for Wichita State as we move into the bottom half of the second inning. The Shockers went down in order against Nebraska right-hander Luis Alvarado in the first. A flyout, a strikeout, and a groundout recorded by the Nebraska righty. Meanwhile, it's been a little more tough sledding for Cody Hoyer, but he's got a couple zeros to show for it, and some big pitches made down towards the bottom of that Nebraska order in the last half inning.
I'll tell you what, you saw that great shot as we came back from break there of the difference in the shadows. The ball's coming out of the light and into the shadows. Sometimes hitters say that that's a little bit easier, and there you see how pronounced that difference is. Pitchers in very bright light, and then you're trying to track the ball into the darkness. You got 2 tough pitchers already. You don't need to make it harder for hitters.
This is in many ways a good day to hit with the wind blowing out to left and some higher temperatures, but these 2 righties will make it difficult to swing the bat any day of the week as Dayton Duga leads it off by taking a breaking ball inside.
Yeah, if you'll let me rephrase you, I think it's a good day to make contact. It's a tough day to hit.
There's a strike to Dugas, 1-1.
Well, we were watching batting practice. Dayton Duga, another one who always seems to put on the show. Get that ball up into that jet stream out into left field and watch the ball sail away.
Had his first home run last weekend against Omaha as he fouls it back to the screen, 1-2, but still looking for a little bit more consistent contact out of him. Hitting just 182 through his first 22 at-bats. And he might be one of the X factors in this lineup, hitting behind Geneste and Bohm, trying to provide protection. And he chases a pitch well out of the strike zone. Wilkening will apply the tag, and it's 1 down.
I don't know that Dayton saw that pitch right there. That was a breaking ball that moved into the left-handed batter's box that Wilkening was able to get in front of and just ways off of that pitch. And a lot of movement from Alvarado, who's showing that he's got command of a couple of pitches today.
A couple of strikeouts for Alvarado to get us started as Luke Ritter had a good swing, fouls it back to the netting. Luke trying to get it going, hitting at .091 through the first 6 games for Wichita State. No homers and an RBI. And I'm not sure Wilkening saw that as it drills him in the foot, kicks all the way into foul territory up the first base line. Clearly a cross-up as he goes out to talk it over with Alvarado. That is not the guy I would want throwing when there's a mix-up in signs.
Clearly a cross-up. Yeah, you got the glove on it, but I think they're both having a hard time picking up the ball coming out of that angle. Wilkening's in like shallow center field right now trying to walk it off.
He will make his way back behind the plate as he had jogged out for a quick word and has a chuckle with home plate umpire Matt Anderson. He dons the tools of ignorance once again, and we're ready for the 1-1. Comes back with a hammer. Alvarado drops 78 on the outside edge. Good breaking ball, and it's 1-2.
First time we've seen that in his 19 pitches. Big and slow. Man, that was pretty nasty.
Tried another one and missed down and away. You wonder how a guy like this with his kind of arm ever made it to a point where they thought he could be a full-time position player. It seems like his future very clearly is going to be as a pitcher, and it shows you how talented of an athlete he is, that he's able to do both and have success doing both.
It's almost like he's kind of forced his way into pitching more, and certainly the numbers back it up, but this is a pretty competent hitter as well. He hit .303 as a freshman.
Ritter swinging on 3-2, pops it up foul territory. It's going to come back to the first base side, and Rapinski couldn't make the grab as he leaned up against the netting. We got a great look at the wind pushing this ball, which looked like it started in the bleachers, the general admission section off to the right side, and came all the way back into the field of play.
Yeah, this is the wind. Rapinski not really going after it until right there, and you see how close he gets. He never really did measure it.
Hammered by Ritter to the shortstop, and after a brief miscue, Altavilla able to recover and throw on to first in time.
This ball was struck very firmly by Ritter, but the problem was it was right at Altavilla, and he was able to stay in front of it because it was hit right at Altavilla. That was the only way he was going to be able to make the play because of how firm that ball was hit.
5 up and 5 down so far for Alvarado as Mason O'Brien, first pitch swing, lashes it to the gap in left center field. It's going to be down for a hit. O'Brien, thinking about 2, is going to slam on the brakes as Hallmark did a very good job getting to that ball in left center field quickly.
Well, a lot of excitement over Mason O'Brien and what he brings to the Shockers lineup. And so far in the 4 home games here at X Stadium, he's looked very comfortable, very simple approach, a guy who doesn't necessarily overswing, and he's able to just put a great swing on it, stays right on top of it, and drives it the opposite way.
So Wichita State with their first base runner. It comes with 2 outs in the second, and it gets Travis Young to the plate. You get to see Alvarado working out of the stretch, and he throws a fastball by the bat of Young, 0-1.
Well, this is just an athlete. You know, you were talking about Luis Alvarado, how anybody could could see him as anything but a pitcher because of the stuff that we're seeing. But you see, he is just very talented and a very complete baseball player. Seems to have a very good feel for the game, very composed from what we've seen of him thus far. He's kind of that complete guy. It seems like you can put him almost anywhere and he can perform.
Comes out of Young, 0-2. And what's interesting is that they don't want him in the outfield this year. On the days that he's not going to pitch, I suppose the plan is to have him either at first base or DH. He has only done that in one other game this year, but as I understand it, he came to Nebraska as a natural shortstop. So then for him to move to the outfield and then back to first base shows you how versatile this guy is. He's now run the count to a ball and 2 strikes on Travis Young.
Well, and I give a lot of credit to Darren Erstad for all of these pieces that he seems to be moving around. You look at the DH and first base spots today. You mentioned that it's 2 guys who are both in search of their first hits on the year. So there's a lot of questions in their lineup still.
Foul tipped into the mid of Wilkening. Luis Alvarado is going to record his 3rd strikeout. He throws up another 0. And we'll move onward to the top half of the 3rd when we come back. Still no score at X Stadium on WSU TV.
Wichita State University is preparing today's students to become tomorrow's leaders. The Shock the World campaign is raising $25 million in private funds for a new home for the W. Frank Barton School on the Innovation Campus. Invest today in tomorrow's business leaders by calling 316-978-4076 or visit www.wichita.edu/shocktheworld.
No score here at Tyler Field at X Stadium. Wichita State and Nebraska in the first of a 3-game set. And Cody Hoyer has had to struggle a little bit through his first 2 frames. He has had 2 base runners in each inning. Got help from a pickoff in the first, worked his way around a double and a walk in the second. He'll be looking for a much cleaner 3rd against the top of the Cornhuskers order. It's Altavilla, Hagge, and Schreiber. A switch hitter, a lefty, and a righty due up.
Yeah, sometimes it feels like nitpicking with Cody because he is very effective. He's got electric stuff. I think ultimately you wonder about the what ifs, though. If you get into situations where his pitch count is high, do you have to take him out after 3 or 4 innings if he's up around 70, 80 pitches? But I say it feels like nitpicking because he does a very good job for limiting damage. And he got himself into a situation there in the second with the leadoff double where he comes back, gets 2 big strikeouts. And even though he's having to expend energy and work pretty hard to get out of it, still, you take that inning by itself as being an effective inning.
Altavilla grounded out to the second baseman Ritter his first time up. And you can see the shade and the sunlight still at odds right around the pitcher's mound, and that will continue to be in effect, I would say, for at least the next 30 to 45 minutes or so.
It's so distinct, too. There's no blending.
Good changeup. Altavilla out in front, 1-1. And if you have never made your way out to X Stadium, it is one of the higher press boxes in all of college baseball that really towers over the surrounding landscape, and as a result it casts a very long shadow for these afternoon ball games. There's a strike. Hoyer has jumped ahead, 1-2.
That's one of the few factors aside from the wind that we've talked about that can make this place tough on visitors. You're not really used to some of the lighting as well as some of the angles and the way the ball plays here at X Stadium.
Hoyer runs a fastball up and away. 2 balls and 2 strikes on Altavilla. 185 coming into play this afternoon. No homers, 2 RBI for the Cornhuskers shortstop has also seen some time at third base in the early going. Hoyer's 2-2. Popped foul off to the left and out of play.
So this is part of the conversation with Cody, right? If we're going to finish this whole idea, is that he gets ahead 1-2, and then instead of getting an action pitch, whether it's a ground out or a strikeout, a lot of times he might miss away, or all of a sudden you see a foul pitch, and there's just 2 or 3 pitches every couple of batters that kind of seem to add up.
Another 2-2 runs up and away. 3 balls and 2 strikes. You never really know how the conversion is going to go whenever you move a guy from the bullpen to the rotation. You always hope that he can just kind of let it go and translate that relief ability into a longer outing, but it is not an easy transition to make. Skied into left field by Altavilla. Drifting back on it is Young. Wynn's going to carry it. Warning track, and bumping up against the wall is Young as he makes the catch.
Well, I mentioned it. There's not any casual fly balls out to left field today. Even something that feels like it's a lazy routine ball out to left field, that's going to have a shot to left field today with the way the wind is blowing. And that one certainly became a lot more adventurous than it might have coming off the bat.
There you see the big flag out in right center field, drifting quite briskly as Hoyer bounces one down and inside to Mojo Hagee. He reached on a walk his first time up, one of 2 free passes that Hoyer has handed out.
Well, you talked about the transition for Cody from the bullpen to the starting rotation. It's 2 things, right? It's physical in terms of lengthening out and being in good condition to repeat the same mechanics over the course of time. And then it's also mental. And it's mental in the sense that sometimes guys who come out of the bullpen and start now are worried about showing off all their stuff the first time through that line, because you want to find a different way to get hitters out. And sometimes you become too careful. You stop pitching the way that you do in a short segment where you only have to get 3 outs, maybe you only see 3 batters. Instead, you're going to see 9 batters, maybe multiple times. And as a result, you have to fight the mental part of, okay, if I get this guy out one way the first time through the lineup, do I go back to that way, or do I find a different way to get him out?
The 45th career appearance for Cody Hoyer this afternoon, his 6th career start. Fouled off by Hagee. He made 2 as a freshman in 2016 and 3 as a sophomore a year ago. I think it was always kind of the plan in the back of Todd Butler's mind to eventually lengthen him out and work him into the weekend rotation, and he is getting a chance to do so this year. 2-2. Up the left field line by Hagee, in towards the corner. Young dives and he couldn't get it, but it's a foul ball.
That was fantastic effort. Young's frustrated with himself. I think he felt like he had a beat on it. We'll get a second look at this ball off the bat. So left-handed swing, the ball's cutting away from Travis Young into the corner. You see it fading away. I think it's just outside of his reach. Maybe he felt like he was able to get there or should have been able to get there. But that was a heck of an effort down in the corner on a very tough ball, the way it cut away from Travis Young.
Another 2-2 from Hoyer, runs outside. So both Altavilla and Hagee have worked full counts, and both these lefties at the top of the Nebraska order clearly making a concerted effort to hit the ball the other way. Deep breath from Cody Hoyer, working off the first base side of the rubber. And another 3-2, fouled off.
Well, the stuff is there. We certainly see that every time Cody Hoyer throws. I would describe his arm as electric. It's got that kind of stuff. The ball moves very well. He seems like he's tough to pick up, tough on hitters to see the ball coming out of his hands. It's just a lot of pitches.
And he walks Hagee for the 2nd time this afternoon. So a couple very good at-bats from the Cornhusker left fielder, who has reached for the 2nd time in 2 trips.
And I'll tell you what, he's taking exactly the type of at-bats that Darren Erstad has to be pleased with right in front of Schreiber and Wilkening, because those are the two guys that Nebraska relies on to do a lot of the heavy lifting and provide a lot of the run support.
Mike Steele has come out of the first base dugout for Wichita State, wraps an arm around Cody Hoyer, and gathers the entire Shocker infield as a dangerous man is coming to the plate next for the Cornhuskers. In right fielder Scott Schreiber, who smashed a double to the gap in right center field his first time up. And I can't imagine we will see Mojo Hagge on the move at any point in this at bat after he was cut down in the first trying to advance on a pitch in the turf.
Well, you never know. I think the faux pas that Hagge committed was just reading that and making his decision a little too late against Troutwine. If they put some natural motion on, allowing him to maybe get a jump on Hoyer, try and cause some confusion in the Shocker defense, maybe. You never know. Sometimes guys like to try and atone for mistakes, right?
Well, if I'm Nebraska, I want Schreiber swinging it with men on as much as possible.
Good point.
And we will see how the Cornhuskers elect to play it. Stop and a start from Hagge at first base as Troutwine frames a good strike on the inside edge, 0-1.
That's a compromise between our approaches. They at least try and force somebody, force the confusion in the defense, force the defense to tip their hand a little bit. But at the end of the day, he's staying right there near first base.
Hagge is 1 for 2 in steals on the year. Swing and a miss, a half-hearted effort from Schreiber, and he foul tips it into the mid of Troutwine, 0-2.
This is Gunnar Troutwine holding on to that one. And Schreiber feels like he might have just missed one.
We'll see if Cody can finally find that put-away pitch. Ahead of Schreiber, no balls and 2 strikes. Strike 3 call, the fastball at the belt at 93, and Cody Hoyer rings up Schreiber on 3 pitches.
Well, we spend all this time talking about pitch efficiency, and Cody Hoyer goes right to the biggest, baddest guy in the Nebraska lineup and elevates fastball right at the top of the zone. Schreiber seemed to be looking for the breaking ball there, expecting a breaking ball there. Great job by Cody Hoyer.
3 strikeouts for the lanky right-hander through his first 2 2/3, but he's got one more big out to get as Jesse Wilkening stands in. And the balk has been called. Seth Buckminster, the third base umpire, immediately signaling that Hoyer committed the violation, and that will move Hagge up to second.
It's a California stop, right? Rolling right on through. And with the pause, yeah, tough to kind of see that there, but kind of appeared like Hoyer never came to a stop live. He just kind of went right through it.
So no pitch and still no count to Wilkening. Grounded out to Alec Boehm down at third base, his first time up, and now a man in scoring position. Good breaking ball. Hoyer jumps into the driver's seat, 0-1. No runs, 2 hits, no errors for the Huskers. No runs, a hit, and no errors for Wichita State. Time called as Hoyer having a hard time getting on the same page with Troutwine. Just missed the outside corner from Hoyer, a ball and a strike. Cody again has gone 5 innings in each of his first 2 starts so far this season. Picked up the win down in Lake Charles against McNeese State, and no decision against Omaha his last time out. Fly ball, right center field. Genesta tracking it, still going towards the warning track, reaches and makes the catch. Grayson Genesta takes away extra bases and a run from Nebraska on a highlight reel grab in deepest right center.
It's a long run. This ball's cutting away from Genesta, and he's able to make a spectacular catch. Stays with it all the way up until the track.
So Nebraska turned aside yet again. We'll move to the home half of the third. Still no score at X Stadium. This is WSU TV.
I understand. I know it's not your typical resume.
Okay, well.
But candidate. But I've been working double shifts just to pay for books. I've been raising my 2 little brothers. I'm determined, driven, motivated. Isn't that what you're looking for?
Look beyond the resume and discover new ways to develop great talent at gradsoflife.org.
A spectacular play from Grayson Genesta, robbing Jesse Wilkening of extra bases, robbing Nebraska of a run, has kept us scoreless as we make our way into the bottom half of the third inning. Tim, that's a guy who did not come to Wichita State as a center fielder, didn't even come to Wichita State as an outfielder, and made it look really natural right there.
Well, Todd Butler at the beginning of the year talked about his athleticism and being able to display that by putting him out in center field. And I got to be honest, sometimes it's like, yeah, but he's a big power hitter. Well, that was just a fantastic read, and you could tell he kind of pumped himself up by making the grab.
Gunnar Troutwine will start it for the Shockers in the third. He takes a strike, and he has been excellent in the early part of this season for Wichita State, hitting at .294, a homer and 5 RBI. Swing and a miss. Good breaking ball there from Alvarado. 0-2. We have talked about the injuries for Nebraska. We haven't so much touched on a couple of key pieces who are out for Wichita State. Trey Vickers, the shortstop, and Noah Croft, who is the projected starter behind the plate. Both still missing time due to injury. Tapped down to third base by Troutwine. Roscom waits back on it, and his throw to first is in time.
Well, the Shockers are certainly excited to get both of those guys healthy, but I'll tell you what, in the meantime, there's not a guy in the dugout who is not thrilled for the start that Gunnar Troutwine's had and his ability to contribute. He was hamstrung by injuries all last season and really kind of put behind the 8 ball in the year that the Shockers expected him to take off. So his opportunities here are certainly ones that all of his teammates are excited for him to have.
So now it's Jordan Boyer down in the 9-hole. Ball misses low. Wichita State just the single hit so far through the first 2+ innings. That was Mason O'Brien with a 2-out single in the second. But Boyer certainly a spark plug down at the bottom of this order.
And the Shockers can't wait to see the shadows go away. I think it's hard enough to try and pick up the ball out of Alvarado's hands right now, but they're certainly excited to see that shadow right at the rubber right now get pushed back about halfway to second so they can see the ball coming out of his hand the entire way.
Boyer lines it, caught by the second baseman Henwood on a little bit of a leap. Didn't have to elevate very high, but a rising line drive off the bat of Boyer finds leather.
That was the vertical baseball card high as Henwood kind of just more politely jumped up than having to do it out of necessity. But you can tell the Shockers are starting to seem like they're a little bit closer to Alvarado in terms of the timing.
They'll get their second look at him now as Alex Jackson back at the top of the order waves through a changeup, 0-1. That may be a splitter from Alvarado. It's 88 miles an hour and has some very good downward action to it. Missed away, 1-1.
Yeah, he seems like he can move the ball a couple different directions, right? The ball's got a little bit of tail to it, runs away from a left-hand hitter. It's also got quite a bit of sink.
One and two. Cornhuskers playing Jackson deep and a little bit to the opposite field in the outfield. Just about every hitter is going to force outfielders to back up at least a step or two here this afternoon due to the wind. Breaking balls on the outside corner. Alvarado, a good pitch, catches Jackson looking, and Wichita State goes down 1-2-3 in the bottom half of the third. A pitcher's duel developing here at X Stadium. We move to the top of the fourth. No score on WSU TV.
I understand. I know it's not your typical resume.
Okay, well.
But candidate. But I've been working double shifts just to pay for books. I've been raising my two little brothers. I'm determined, driven, motivated. Isn't that what you're looking for?
Look beyond the resume and discover new ways to develop great talent at gradsoflife.org.
Cody Hoyer and Luis Alvarado trading 3 zeros as we move into the top half of the fourth. It's Roscom, Hallmark, and Athey, 5, 6, and 7 coming to the plate. It has certainly been easier for Alvarado than it has Hoyer, as Cody has required 62 pitches to make his way through the first 3 frames. He's gotten some help from his defense, but you know what? You got 8 other guys out there for a reason, and Cody has taken advantage of them.
Play by Grayson Genista, you go back to that, there's a big boon to him being able to get out of the third inning, but you still got to go back to the first inning. Nebraska would probably have a 1-0 lead if it wasn't for Gunnar Troutwine's throw and block to cut down the first base runner of the game for the Cornhuskers.
Left-hand hitting Luke Roscom to start it for the Cornhuskers. He takes a strike. Smacked a double his first time up, but did not move after that as Hoyer got around trouble thanks to a couple strikeouts. Off the end of the bat toward shortstop. Hoyer's going to have to get rid of it in a hurry, and he did just that. Gets Roscom by a half a step, and it's 1 up and 1 down. Nice play by the Shocker shortstop.
There was a lot of hurry to that one, and I think Roscom is still trying to get a second look at it to see. You think he felt like he might have even beaten that one out. We're going to get a second look right here at Roscom coming out of the box. He got out of the box pretty quick as Boyer got handcuffed, and I think he was able to just get that throw there over to Mason O'Brien in time. But that's one of those ones when you're hustling down the line, you're just hoping and praying for the call to go your way.
Good start for Hoyer to the fourth. He could certainly use a quick inning. Hallmark fouls it off to the right side. O'Brien gives it a look, and every first baseman and catcher would be wise to do just that on any foul ball off to the right side. We've already seen one get pushed back into the field of play on this very windy afternoon in Wichita.
I think to get to the screen, and we had a great shot at Gunnar Troutwine there as he was hustling over just to get to the screen and make sure that that ball got out. You want to watch it go out rather than take the chance that you're going to give an extra pitch to a hitter.
Hallmark squares to bunt, and he bunts right through it.
Well, he tried to take advantage of Bohm being way deep over at third base. Bohm was out by the outfield grass, but Hallmark just didn't put the bat on the ball. It was almost like he was looking at Bohm the entire way to see if Bohm would actually come crash.
So now Hoyer in command. No balls and 2 strikes as he is in search of his 4th punch out. Tries to elevate the fastball. 1 ball and 2 strikes. I think that can be a very important pitch for Cody. with the way that his fastball tends to rise and kind of explode out of his hand. If he can elevate it just above the strike zone, I think that can get a lot of swings and misses and a lot of chases.
Well, we've seen a couple of takes right about the top today. They've gotten called third strike as well.
Missed down with another fastball, and it's even on Hallmark 2-2.
Well, I was talking earlier about different ways to get guys out, and one of the ways that Cody is the best is he goes up and down in the zone. He, as you mentioned, he can elevate with the fastball, but then he's really developing that changeup to be a swing and miss pitch in two-strike situations.
2-2 on the outside corner, called strike 3. Cody Hoyer has set down Jackson Hallmark twice, both times looking, and it's 2 up and 2 down for the Huskers here in the 4th.
Well, one thing that Hoyer's starting to take advantage of with how patient Nebraska has been against him is the ability to come with 2 strikes and come with the fastball. That one's right at the top of the zone again, right about the belt level, and he's getting takes on those pitches, not even getting offerings.
So a chance for his first 1-2-3 inning if he can get through Jeff Athey. And he's going to get it. Mason O'Brien fields a 2-hopper. He will take it to the bag himself. And there is the first 1-2-3 inning from Cody Hoyer. He sends us to the home half of the 4th. Still no score on WSU TV.
Todd's a great guy. I mean, look at him. What a sweetheart. Attaboy. Wait, Todd, what are you doing? How totally selfish and un-Todd-like of you. Come on, Todd. Come on, man.
Wichita State University is Shocker Nation. We exceed expectations, push boundaries, seize opportunities, and move boldly ahead. We are student-centered and innovation-driven. It's who we are. Our vision is simple but powerful. Create, innovate, collaborate, and celebrate. With one unifying purpose: to shock the world.
A much-needed quick 1-2-3 inning for Cody Hoyer in the top half of the 4th. Meanwhile, it's been relatively smooth sailing for Luis Alvarado through the first 3. Just one batter faced over the minimum, and he has looked electric at times. 4 strikeouts for the right-hander. The Shockers will send 2, 3, and 4 to the plate against him here in the bottom half of the 4th.
Well, with Hoyer, we've been talking about pitch count. That's not even a thought with Alvarado because he's been so effective. Shockers got to find a way to disrupt him and disrupt him early in the inning. Their lone base runner so far came with 2 outs. That was a 2-out knock by Mason O'Brien back in the 2nd. They need a leadoff guy aboard. Make him work out of the stretch. Make him labor a little bit.
This is a good guy to do just that. Genista worked a full count his first time up and took a called strike 3 on a pitch that was dubious at best around the outside corner. He watches one sail low. A ball and no strikes. Lefty, righty, righty due up for Wichita State here in the home half of the 4th.
You know, one of the only silver linings to a borderline strikeout like that sometimes is that you feel like you're seeing the pitcher. And maybe that's an advantage that Grayson can bring into this at bat, feeling like he's seeing the ball coming out of Alvarado's hands.
Missed down and inside with something off speed. 2 balls and a strike. Most pitches that Alvarado has needed for 1 inning so far this afternoon, 16 in the 2nd. That was when Wichita State got its lone base runner on O'Brien's 2-out single, but now he has fallen behind 3-1 on Genista.
And another boon for the Shockers is that Alvarado's completely covered up by that shadow, so that difference of light to dark shouldn't be an issue anymore.
See if Genista gets something to hit here on 3-1. Good pitch right there at the knees. Genista with a couple of words from Matt Anderson, and it's full at 3-2.
Yeah, still felt like that one was close, but probably a good take. Not necessarily a 3-1 pitch that you want to be going after. Although it was right over the plate, a little down.
Swing and a miss. Fastball by him on the outside corner, and Alvarado comes back from 3-1 to strike out Genista.
Well, that's what you got to be impressed with, right, by Alvarado there, is his ability to come back against one of the best hitters in the Shocker lineup. He falls behind 3-1, but he attacks Grayson. He attacks him down in the zone, and then that two-seamer, that ball running away, might even been a changeup, took something off of it there, but the ball tailing away from Genesta, and because of that first at bat where it was borderline, Genesta wasn't going to go down the same way twice.
Bohm muscles one into shallow center field. A couple players converging. Hallmark on the run, sees it go off the tip of his glove. Bohm is going to hustle into second base. He'll be there standing, but the Shockers catch a break as the freshman Jackson Hallmark watches this one tip right off the leather and fall into right center.
We'll see it again, but I think that Hallmark kind of got caught up in the sun. Not sure exactly where the sun was. I know the lights are on too, but at some point as he puts his glove up here, he's not looking at the ball. He's not looking. He was looking more forward as to where he was going. And as he just kind of kept cruising, it seemed like he never really saw it.
So now it's Dayton Duga. Lined into left field, a base hit. Bohm didn't read it well. He's going to head to third base and get the stop sign there, and had to wait and hold up to see if that line drive was going to get through. And the Shockers will have runners at the corners with one out.
Well, Bohm was being sure that he didn't give that out back by running into an out, so he's got to make sure it gets by the third baseman Roscom, but that ball gets out quickly into left field, so he was only going to advance 90 feet anyways. But this is the best opportunity that the Shockers have had yet, and now you really got to capitalize on the mistake by the Cornhuskers.
Before Luke Ritter can stand in, a quick visit to the mound is going to pull in the entire Nebraska infield. They have ruled that play out in center field an error, by the way, on Hallmark, and so the Bohm run, should it happen across the plate, would be unearned. But Wichita State with by far its best scoring chance, their first runner in scoring position, and the first sign of any kind of vulnerability from Luis Alvarado, who had looked so dominant through the first 3 1/3.
Well, you can't fault Alvarado because errors typically you can't control as a pitcher, but I know there's a lot of programs around the country, especially when you get to the professional levels, where they talk about pitchers, no matter how the guy gets on, it's still the pitcher's responsibility to prevent him from scoring. So even though the guy's on second, now Alvarado's responsibility becomes trying to induce a double play. The Shockers have to find a way to counter here, and they got to try and find a way to continue to apply pressure on Alvarado.
Well, Luke Ritter is going to try and avoid what he did his first time up. That was smash one on the ground right at the shortstop Altavilla. The Cornhuskers are going to play their infield about halfway. First pitch breaking ball drops low.
Well, there's some big angles on both sides of the field, big holes for Ritter to try and aim for, with the first baseman Rapinski holding Duga on at first. There's a big hole on the right side, and then the third baseman Roscom playing tight on the line on the third base side as well.
What a pick on the backhand from Wilkening to save a run, and maybe more than that, as a fastball was spiked down and outside. He made a backhand stab.
Sometimes you just expect catchers to get to everything right, but that really should be considered a web gym type play, and a crucial play at that.
2-0. Low. And Alvarado, fighting the command a little bit to Luke Ritter, has fallen behind 3 balls and no strikes.
Well, interesting situation, because if you're Ritter, you're certainly looking for a pitch to drive here, but at the same time, you don't want to help out Alvarado, who's obviously struggling.
3-0 is up and away, ball 4. Luis Alvarado issues his first walk of the afternoon, and whatever the visit on the mound resulted in, it didn't seem to settle down the right-hander as he misses with 4 straight, and the Shockers have the bases loaded for Mason O'Brien.
Well, it's almost a push on both sides, right? Because for Nebraska, you say, okay, you lost the hitter, but you set up the force. But for the Shockers, it's the guy who figured out Alvarado the first time through the order. You got Mason O'Brien in an RBI situation, which he's been good at here at X Stadium.
Driven to deep right field by O'Brien. Going back, Schreiber into the corner. It's gone. Mason O'Brien, a grand slam, has given Wichita State a 4-0 lead here in the home half of the fourth. What was that you said about driving in runs here at X Stadium?
Well, he seems also like hitting against Luis Alvarado because he's got 2 hits in exactly 2 pitches. He's seen the righty twice, and he had a great control single the left way. This time it was all power to right field, and that is a big boon for the Shockers. A beautiful swing, and you think Mason knew he got it all there? Just a little bit.
It is not easy to get a ball out to right field today. You got to hit it through the cross breeze, and that is exactly what O'Brien did as Travis Young fouls it back. The first home run as a Shocker, and O'Brien adds RBIs 5, 6, 7, and 8 for a 4-0 lead here in the fourth.
Double checking your math. Good job.
Thank you. Young pops it up right above our heads.
Well, I'll tell you what, Shocker fans, you got to get to know this Mason O'Brien. A family name, uncles and cousins both played here, but he can make a name for himself, and he's a guy that Todd Butler talked about being able to kind of back up Genesta and Bohm. And they slid him down in the lineup today because the number's just 176 coming in, but he's looked good here at X Stadium. In fact, very good, and that just enhances that.
A ball and 2 strikes to Young. Smacked on the ground towards shortstop. Altavilla has got his throw to first in time. Isn't it funny how through 3 innings, Luis Alvarado and Cody Hoyer, despite both rolling up zeros, couldn't have been more opposite. As Alvarado was able to cruise through, required just 38 pitches. Hoyer had to grind his way through 62 pitches. And then here in the fourth, it has been a complete 180. Hoyer needed just 8 pitches to get through the top half, and all of a sudden Alvarado, a dent in the armor here in the bottom half.
But don't you love baseball? You see, the past success doesn't determine future success, and for the Shockers, I think one thing that they've already shown at times is their ability to grind and just stay with it. You know, they had that series down in Louisiana where balls were flying out left and right, and then they come back home, and it seems like it was impossible to score a run for either team for points at a time. But this is a team that just is sticking with it, and they're showing that type of character.
Little cue shot by Troutwine to third base. The throw on to first, and just keeping his foot on the bag is Rapinski as Troutwine is retired to end the inning. But not before the grand slam off the bat of Mason O'Brien has given Wichita State a 4-0 lead. We head to the fifth. This is WSU TV.
Introducing Dunkin's new cold brew coffee, steeped slowly in cold water for small batches with an ultra smooth, full-bodied flavor. Discover the craft of cold brew today and keep on. America runs on Dunkin'.
My parents weren't fluent in English, so in school, I had to be independent and take initiative. And that's how I handle every project I get.
Well, a little bit of breathing room for Cody Hoyer as we make our way into the top half of the fifth. He's got himself a 4-0 lead to work with as Zach Rapinski, Alex Henwood, and Angelo Altavilla, the 8, 9, and 1 hitters, come to the plate for Nebraska. Shockers getting a grand slam off the bat of Mason O'Brien for the game's only scoring thus far.
But you talk about the breathing room, and there's the blast from O'Brien that certainly got X Stadium buzzing. But I'll tell you the other thing that Cody Hoyer got that he hadn't up until this point was a little bit of a breather. He got to sit down and he got to rest for a little bit, rest those legs. And sometimes that helps starters settle in more. Of course, He's coming off of his best inning of work through the first 4, but now an opportunity to come back, get that shutdown inning that everybody always talks about.
He'll try and do so first against Zach Rapinski, who reached on a walk his first time up. Hoyer gets ahead 0-1. 2-3 walks for Hoyer handed out through the first 4 innings. And he has struck out 4 as well. Allowed the 2 base hits, both of which have been doubles. Still throwing hard. That last fastball at 94 runs up and inside on Rapinski, junior college transfer from Des Moines Area Community College. One of just 2 seniors in this Nebraska lineup, along with the right fielder Schreiber. Late, and it's 1-2. Everybody straight away for Rapinski. A couple lefties to follow for the Cornhuskers here in the top of the 5th. Lined into center field. Genestas coming on, but he'll have to play it on a hop. It's Zach Rapinski with a leadoff single.
Well, Hoyer gets ahead 1-2, but Rapinski just stayed on him the whole time, and Hoyer's best pitch today has been that fastball. That's the one Hoyer comes back with in the 1-2 count, and that's the one Rapinski was looking for, and he searches it out, finds it, and strikes it right back up the box like he knew it was coming.
First hit of the season for Rapinski. He stands at first base with nobody out for Henwood, who grounded out to third base his first time up. There's a strike. As Hoyer's done a pretty good job of getting ahead in the counts. The walks that he has had so far have typically been grinded out at bats, in which it's not necessarily 4 wide ones nowhere close. Had a full count walk to Hagge back in the first, an 8-pitch walk to Rapinski in the second, as trying to lay down a bunt as Henwood and instead falling by 0-2, and then a 9-pitch walk to Hagge again in the third.
Yeah, that's a big part of that elevated pitch count that we've been talking so much about. Sometimes that's the beauty of the 4-pitch walk, is just get rid of that hitter and refresh, reset. But he's had to labor.
Henwood swinging on 0-2, skies it into left center field. Travis Young is over, taking control, and makes the catch for the first out.
Well, Young and Genesta have had some activity today out in the outfield. Dayton Duga's been pretty left alone so far out in right field. But I'll tell you what, everything off the bat to center field and left field today kind of seems like it's an adventure, and it seems like it has taken extra effort from all the outfielders out there.
So we're back to the top for Altavilla, who bounced to second and flew out to left his last time up. Breaking ball, and again Hoyer is in the driver's seat, 0-1. And on those fly balls here this afternoon, it is good to be decisive, and communication is going to be very important, making it clear that if you're the one who's going to try to go get it, let everyone else know.
And just because it starts out at you doesn't mean it's going to end up that you're the closest person to the ball when it comes down.
Smacked into left field by Altavilla, but it's off the end of the bat, and it's going to hang up there for Travis Young, who comes in a couple of steps and makes the catch for the second out.
I'll even say that might have been the weirdest fly ball so far today, because that did the most natural movement of them all, just kind of died down, didn't really carry out to Young. He had to come get it a bit. But Hoyer missing barrels for the most part as he has settled in beyond the third inning.
So now it's Hagge, who has been the thorn in Hoyer's side, with a couple of long grinding at bats that have both resulted in walks. Hoyer just missed.
Well, he's had command of that pitch, that breaking ball, low 80s. He's been able to put it where he wants. And he's used it here in the fourth and the fifth to get ahead quite a bit. It's been the setup pitch rather than the finishing pitch.
There's a strike, 1-1 on 5'7", 175-pound sophomore Mojo Hagee. His full name, Morris John Hagee. So you take the first part of Morris, the first part of John, you get Mojo.
Good choice.
Hoyer's 1-1. There's a strike, 1-2. He reminds me a lot of Sam Fold. Another somewhat diminutive outfielder, swings it from the left side. And you hate to use all the cliches of a grinder, a spark plug, but he really does seem to fit that mold for this Nebraska team.
Built similarly.
He's down in the count, 1-2. Slaps it off the plate down towards Alec Bohm. He'll have to get rid of it quickly. He does, and it's in time. Alec Bohm showing off the arm, and he gets Mojo Hagee to turn aside the Cornhuskers in the top half of the fifth. We move to the bottom half. It's still 4-0 Wichita State on WSU TV.
See on page 4 that the projections need to be tornado next Thursday.
Seriously? Thursday? Can't do that.
This is really inconvenient.
I have yoga that day.
I have no time for this.
So
I can't do Thursday, but I can do Friday.
Disasters don't plan ahead. You can. Talk to your loved ones about how you're going to be ready in an emergency. Don't wait. Communicate.
This year, patriotism shouldn't just be about pride of country. It should be about love. Remember that to love America is to love all Americans, because love has no labels.
Another scoreless frame tossed up there by Cody Hoyer in the top half of the fifth as he works around a leadoff single and keeps the Shockers in front 4-0. They'll send 9-1-2 to the plate against Luis Alvarado, who ran into his first bit of trouble in the bottom half of the fourth. It came all starting due to an error, then a single, a walk, and the big blow, a grand slam off the bat of Mason O'Brien, has given the Shockers their current 4-0 advantage.
Well, the Shockers taking advantage of the miscue in the outfield, and this is a difficult outfield. We've talked about it to play in, especially today. But Wichita State, knowing the opportunity, is they've had a hard time getting to Alvarado today, and Mason O'Brien cashed in the runs.
Hoyer takes a strike. He lined out sharply to the second baseman Henwood his first time up, but you wonder if Wichita State may have been onto something in that last half inning at the plate. Swinging early in counts. Hoyer, a drive is foul. 3 of those 4 base runners who reached swung at the first pitch and were able to find their way aboard. And the one who did not was Ritter. He did not see a strike in 4 pitches. So maybe being aggressive early is something that Todd Butler has made an adjustment on as we make our way into the middle portion of this Friday afternoon.
And not to drone on, but I think being able to see Alvarado and then also not allow him to get to his finishing pitches, not allow him to get to those breaking balls where he has all the leverage. I think that's exactly right. Seeing something early, seeing when he's trying to gain control of the strike zone.
Off the end of the bat from Boyer, Altavilla throws on the run and gets him by a couple of steps. It's 1 up and 1 down for Wichita State here in the bottom half of the fifth.
You know, you definitely see all the positives with Luis Alvarado, especially for a guy who's been drafted twice, not necessarily drafted as a starting pitcher, but you still see the ability in his feel for the zone. I think it's taken the Shockers kind of taking that next step in their approach against him today to be able to get things going.
Alex Jackson 0 for 2, shows bunt and takes a strike. It's flown out to left and struck out looking. Shockers have been searching a little bit for a guy to take over that leadoff spot. It was Luke Ritter for most of the early portion of this season, and Jackson now getting a chance. Ideally, you'd like to have a guy on as often as possible ahead of Grayson Genesta and Alec Bohm. popped up left side of the infield. Altavilla looked like he couldn't see it initially, but now recovers and makes the catch.
Well, that ultimately has to be the thing for the Shockers, right? Somebody who can get on base quite a bit. You have Jordan Boyer at the bottom of the lineup, and Todd Butler has made it clear, not just this year, but last year, that he likes Boyer in that 9 spot, kind of functions a little bit like a second leadoff guy. But you don't want to see those opportunities as you see the shortstop Altavilla making the catch after skipping around for a while.
Grayson Genis has had a rough go of it so far against Alvarado. 0 for 2 with a couple of strikeouts, one looking and one swing. And he's quickly down in the count, 0-2.
Now, so far today, the badge of honor for Grayson Genista was that fantastic catch back to end the 3rd inning with a runner on base and 2 outs, saved at least a run, if not a larger inning from the Cornhuskers.
Way outside from Alvarado, forces a lunging grab from Wilkening as he takes the expand fastball principle a little bit too literally. A ball and 2 strikes.
Seeing how wide that zone will go.
Just nipped the corner of the right-hand hitter's batter's box. Genista flicks it foul to stay alive at 1-2. Genista trying to start a rally here with 2 outs and nobody aboard. A ground out and a pop out, both to the shortstop Altavilla to start things here in the bottom half of the 5th. Shockers in front 4-0 on Mason O'Brien's grand slam. Downstairs, 2 balls, 2 strikes. A couple guys up and stretching down in the Wichita State bullpen with Cody Hoyer at 83 pitches, but no one up on a mound throwing as of this moment. Outside and high, and Genista has battled his way back from 0-2 to 3-2.
Well, these have been some fun at bats today between Alvarado and Genista. It's gone full now for the 2nd consecutive time, but these guys with quite a bit of a chess match.
Swing and a miss. Genista can't catch up to a fastball, and that's 3 punch outs for him. A 1-2-3 inning for Luis Alvarado. We move to the 6th. Still 4-0 Wichita State. You're watching WSU TV.
I was living in a shelter, juggling 3 jobs. I had to be resilient. That's something that you can't teach.
Introducing Dunkin's new cold brew coffee, steeped slowly in cold water for small batches with an ultra-smooth, full-bodied flavor. Discover the craft of cold brew today and keep on. America runs on Dunkin'.
Cody Hoyer has retired 8 of the last 9 that he's faced. He'll try and continue that good stretch against the dangerous part of the Nebraska order. It's 3, 4, and 5 coming to the plate, starting with right fielder Scott Schreiber, then Wilkening and Roscom. A couple righties and a lefty due up for the Huskers, who have recorded just 3 hits through the first 5 innings against the right-hander.
Well, that one blemish in those last 9 batters that you mentioned was Rapinski with the leadoff single last inning. Other than that, though, Hoyer has found a different level here the 2nd and 3rd time through the lineup for Nebraska. And he's found a couple of different ways to approach and attack the Nebraska lineup.
Schreiber on the ground to shortstop. Jordan Boyer has got it. Throw to first is in time. 1 pitch, 1 out, and that is a good guy to get, especially leading off the 6th.
Everything about that's great. You like Schreiber, you like him on 1 pitch, and you like him with nobody on base. And that's exactly what Hoyer wants to see. 82 pitches into the ball game. to get the best hitter in the Nebraska lineup out on one pitch. It looked like he just kind of missed it, kind of topped it almost, and ends up grounding out to begin the inning.
So now it's Wilkening, who was 0 for 2. Grounded to third his first time up, and then was robbed on that spectacular defensive play from Genesta to take away extra bases and an RBI to end the third. Now there is some double barrel action down in the Wichita State pen as both a righty and a lefty beginning to throw. Wilkening cranks it out into deep left center field. Genesta on the run will make the catch, a step in front of the warning track in deep left center.
Well, I was thinking about it at the plate when Genesta was up to end the 5th inning, but he's showcasing that athleticism that we've talked about a ton today, and that play looked like it could have been a lot more dangerous off the bat, especially the way the ball's been carrying to left center. But Genesta ends up straightening up and gets the ball with plenty of time. You're going to see he actually is able to slow down and set his feet, turn his body to make the catch, kind of, to put away Wilkening.
Tough luck 0 for 3 right now for Wilkening, and a good first pitch breaking ball had Roscom looking silly. It's 0-1.
Well, one reason why we've talked about pitch count, especially as it pertains to Cody Hoyer, is that the 85 pitch level, which we're right at right now, is about what Todd Butler and Mike Steele have talked about of having the Shockers pitchers ready to do at the beginning of the year. So anything beyond that, it's all kind of touch and feel, right? You got to kind of gauge it by situation and where you're at in the ball game.
Roscom has doubled and grounded out to short. Foul back to the screen, and Cody Hoyer 1 strike away from 6 shutout innings. He has already worked a season high 5 2/3. But what a performance this would be.
He looked like a different guy since the 3rd inning.
1-2. Swing and a miss. Got him to chase down, and Cody Hoyer finishes the 6th inning with the flourish. He is now set down 9 of the last 10. He moves us to the bottom half of the 6th. It's still 4-0 Wichita State on WSU TV. Six shutout innings from Cody Hoyer and a grand slam from Mason O'Brien as Wichita State in front 4-0 into the bottom half of the 6th on a sun-splashed afternoon here at X Stadium, the first of a 3-game set between the Shockers and the Nebraska Cornhuskers. First time that these two teams have met since 2 years ago when the Shockers traveled up to Lincoln for a 3-game series at Haymarket Park. Nebraska won 2 out of 3. Alec Bohm will start it, takes down and inside for ball 1.
Nebraska, the slight all-time edge between the two clubs. 25 wins for Nebraska, 23 for the Shockers. And in the 7 years under Darren Erstad, Nebraska also has a slight edge.
Nebraska hasn't been to X Stadium since 2014 when they came away with a 7-3 victory. Kind of makes sense that these two programs would hook up a lot more in the future with the regional proximity and both being traditional powers. 2 balls and a strike now to Bohm. Nebraska coming off a 35-22 season a year ago, the Big Ten regular season champs, but a rather disappointing end for them in the NCAA tournament. They were upset by Yale and then Holy Cross. Missed somewhere to Bohm. 3 balls and a strike.
I'm really not sure where that one missed.
Looked like Matt Anderson was all but ready to raise the right arm and then elected not to do so, and Alec Bohm is going to take a free base. I'm not sure if that hit him or not, but regardless, the Shockers have themselves a leadoff runner.
Well, up until that leadoff man, there's really only been one bad inning for Luis Alvarado. This is the 3-1 pitch. Still tough to tell. Might have grazed the inside of the jersey. Alec was dancing out of the way. I think officially it's just ball 4. But this will be an interesting conversation for Nebraska to have, because really you take away that 4th inning, and the word to describe Luis Alvarado today has been electric. He's been fantastic. He's been efficient, but he really has been electric up until that error in the 4th kind of got him off kilter, and the Shockers were able to kind of get him stumbling.
Well, a visit to the mound is going to give some time for right-hander Keegan Watson to begin to loosen down in the Nebraska pen. And this is an area in which the Cornhuskers are really going to be throwing some guys into the fire. We've talked about how they have several key arms out with injuries right now, and so we are going to see a lot of untested guys making their way out of that left field pen. Watson, just a freshman, may be called upon should Alvarado run into more trouble here in the 6th. Dayton Dugas struck out and singled. He's looking to bunt, lays a good one down to the third base side. Throwing on the run is Roskin to get him. Bohm will advance to second, so will go down as a sacrifice. Not a bad idea there from Dayton Dugas. If he had deadened it a little bit more, likely would have had himself a hit.
Yeah, you have to really love the idea, because as we mentioned, that Alvarado's not been in a ton of problems since that 4th inning. So you move the guy over, and it almost looked like Dugas was bunting for a hit. But worst case scenario, now you have a runner on second with less than 2 outs, so just looking for one more hit to cash him in.
Luke Ritter has grounded to short, walked and scored his last time up. As Bohm at second, and a breaking ball is outside.
I know you're very analytically based, Denning, but you look at a situation like this, a lot of times managers talk about playing for the 5-run lead, and it kind of seems like a good time to do it against Alvarado as well.
Ritter takes up an inside, 2 balls and no strikes. That is an important run, standing out at second base for Wichita State. They try and provide some insurance either for Cody Hoyer or a bullpen arm. The activity is slowed down in the Shockers pen. Ritter takes a strike, 2-1. No runs on 3 hits for Nebraska. They have committed the game's only error, and it was an important one. Wichita State 4 runs on just 3 hits of their own. Ritter is ahead, 3 balls and a strike.
One thing Luke Ritter has done all season long is take a good at bat, and he has been patient at the plate in doing that. He's going to make you work, and he's not going to give you a free out.
Look to be taking all the way there on 3-1, and Alvarado runs it right down the chute. 3 balls and 2 strikes. It's Mason O'Brien looming in the on-deck circle. This is an important pitch for Luis Alvarado, and you wonder if he allows Ritter to reach, whether it will be the end of his afternoon. Lined, gloved on a hop by Roscom. He sets the feet and throws across in time, and a nice pick by the Nebraska third baseman on a hot shot.
That's the second Adam ball that Luke Ritter has hit right at him in terms of the defense set up, and that ball caught Roscom, I think, a little bit more than Roscom caught it. But you can tell Ritter felt like he has seen Alvarado well today. Just 2 balls that have been struck right at the Nebraska defense.
So it's up to Mason O'Brien, and we'll see with the base open how aggressive Nebraska wants to be with him. He has singled and hit a grand slam, and he takes outside for ball 1.
Well, kind of interesting as well, because Alvarado has had a lot of success against what we call here in Wichita the Bash Brothers 2.0. Struck out Genesta 3 times, and Bohm's walk was the only clean issue of the 6 plate appearances between those two.
O'Brien pops it up, foul territory, over towards the railing. Roscom's not going to have a play, as there was a lot of teammates in the vicinity right on the railing, and I'm not sure if they helped him out all too much.
Well, it kind of seemed like the wind pushed it a little bit. Not everybody was on the same page with the swirling wind down at the third base dugout.
Roscom kind of had his hands up in the air as there were a bunch of red-clad Cornhuskers right on the railing who either didn't get out of the way or didn't give him a heads up. O'Brien with some new life fouls it off to the left again, and it's 1-2.
Now tip your cap to Luis Alvarado. He's been very aggressive, coming right at Mason O'Brien here in this at bat. And Nebraska has trusted him to go after the Shockers left-hander.
Bohm still at second base, 2 outs. O'Brien fouls it off again. Steady diet of off-speed stuff working away to Mason.
And he's just tracking it too, just letting the hands go right at the off-speed pitch from Alvarado.
Another 1-2. Line up the middle and on into center field, a base hit. Alec Bohm is going to come around and score the Shockers' 5th run. And Mason O'Brien, have yourself a day. 3 for 3, 5 RBI. It's 5-0 Wichita State.
Have a day is right. Mason O'Brien has been fantastic using the whole field. He went to left center his first at bat. He went to deep right his second at bat. This one is right back up the middle. And just an outside pitch that he serves back up the middle. No shot for Altavilla. 5 RBI day. The entire Wichita State offense has gone through Mason O'Brien today.
And that is going to be the last hitter that Luis Alvarado will face. A call to the bullpen being made. We'll tell you all about the new Nebraska arm when we come back. It's 5-0 Wichita State on WSU TV.
Got a quarter?
Freshman right-hander Keegan Watson makes his way out of the Nebraska bullpen on in relief of Luis Alvarado, whose afternoon is done after 5 2/3 innings. He allows 5 runs and Wichita State a 5-0 lead as Watson will be making his second appearance of this young season. 6'3", 200-pounder from Fountaintown, Indiana, and one of those young arms that Darren Erstad is kind of having to throw into the fire this weekend with a lot of important pieces in the back end of this Cornhusker bullpen out due to injury.
Well, throw him into the fire is right. His collegiate debut was against the #2 ranked Oregon State Beavers, in which he went an inning, gave up 3 hits, 3 runs, but This is a guy now coming into a situation where he's just trying to stop the bleeding a little bit and get the Nebraska bats a chance to get back into this ball game.
So Watson comes on to face Travis Young. Mason O'Brien at first base, still the responsibility of Alvarado. Young has a good swing at the first pitch, fouls it back to the screen, 0-1. You have to question the decision to pitch to Mason O'Brien with a base open. A guy who was 2 for 2 against Alvarado prior to that at bat, clearly was seeing the ball well against him and came through once again.
Yeah, sometimes that's my only beef with going straight off at numbers. You look at a guy like O'Brien who came into the game hitting under 200, but he's a fantastic hitter, and the Shockers have been raving about him.
Young smacks it out into deep left center field. On the run is Hallmark. He's going to track it down and make the catch. And the Shockers are retired, but not before the RBI single from Mason O'Brien. We move into the top half of the 7th. It's 5-0 Wichita State on WSU TV.
Hi. You think you're probably sober?
Yeah.
But you're thinking about taking the back roads home, just in case. Why would you do that?
Probably okay isn't okay. Call a cab, a car, or a friend.
Good choice.
Wichita State University is preparing today's students to become tomorrow's leaders. The Shock the World campaign is raising $25 million in private funds for a new home for the W. Frank Barton School on the Innovation Campus. Invest today in tomorrow's business leaders by calling 316-978-4076 or visit www.wichita.edu/shocktheworld.
Shockers in front 5-0 as we move into the top of the 7th, and Cody Hoyer is going to get a chance to come back out to face the 6, 7, and 8 hitters in the Nebraska order. And Hoyer has been on a roll as of late. He has retired 11 out of the last 12 hitters that he has faced. He enters the inning with a pitch count right at 90 as he'll face Hallmark, Athey, and Rapinski. Right, left, right. Due up for the Cornhuskers. Tim, this is a little bit of trust, a little bit of faith being shown by Todd Butler and Mike Steele, sending out their young right-hander.
Well, the second Cody Hoyer that came on in the 4th inning has been fantastic. He's been good all game, but this version of him has been simply fantastic. And it's almost like as he got through the 2nd and 3rd time, normally it's hitters who get comfortable against pitchers. He's gotten comfortable against the Nebraska lineup. He's been aggressive. He has stayed on them, and he's forced them to try and do the damage. And he's kind of put the ball in their court, and they haven't responded yet against it.
Jackson Hallmark is 0 for 2. He has a couple strikeouts, both looking against Hoyer. And he's first pitch swinging, chases a fastball and comes up empty.
Another thing, too, the Shockers have had a couple of long innings that have seemed to give Hoyer a little bit of extra burst of energy. You know, they got that big 4-run 4th, and that seemed to help him settle in even more after that 8-pitch inning that he'd thrown in the top half.
4 is in another strike, and it's 0-2. He has sat 93, 94, and stayed there the entire game, and it is impressive maintaining that velocity over the 90-pitch mark.
Touched 96 a few times, too.
There's a breaking ball on 0-2. Good pitch, but Hallmark wouldn't go after it. Ball and 2 strikes. Robbie Evans, Clayton McGinnis, the right-handers loosening down in the Shocker pen. But for now, Cody Hoyer upstairs, trying to get Hallmark to expand the zone. He wouldn't do so.
I said it back in the, I think it was about the 4th inning. He's gone to that fastball as you get a look at Clayton McGinnis on the right, Robbie Evans on the left. I think they're both ready to go.
Little fister out into shallow right field is going to find green turf as Hoyer got in on the hands of Hallmark, but he had the strength to muscle it out into shallow right center. and a leadoff runner for the Cornhuskers here in the 7th.
Well, he's been using that fastball as a put-away pitch. That's what I was going to get to, where he just missed a little high. But it's kind of a version of pitching backwards. And that time, Hallmark, who had really been lost against Hoyer in his first 2 at-bats, was able to stay on that pitch and just spring it out into right field.
So now Jeff Athey struck out swinging, grounded out to first in 2 trips. Hoyer misses up and away 1-0. Athey now 0 for 11 on the season. Hoyer hoping that he can keep that first hit at bay for the time being. Middle infield pinch towards the bag at second in hopes of a double play. Swing and a miss. Base hit from Hallmark, just the 4th of the afternoon for Nebraska. We have detailed their offensive struggles so far this year. Just a .216 team average coming into play this afternoon. And not a whole lot of extra base power. 6 doubles, 2 triples, 2 homers. They have had a couple doubles, but no runs to speak of so far. Breaking ball strike, and Hoyer's in the driver's seat, 1-2.
Well, they're certainly looking for the bats, right, Denny? They're looking for guys who can come in and help carry this lineup. And they have a lot of big names. They have guys who are probably going to go have long professional careers after they're done in Lincoln.
Hoyer missed up and away, 2-2.
But right now, there's also that need for some of these guys to step in. And it's almost the opposite of some of the questions that we were asking about the Wichita State lineup at the beginning, because Wichita State pretty much got everybody back from last year. There are a lot of freshmen who are thrust into some very responsible loads, some very key spots for the Cornhuskers right now.
Meanwhile, Cody Hoyer has worked it to 3 balls and 2 strikes on Athey, and might be the last pitch of his ball game one way or another. Right-hand hitter in the on-deck circle, 3 ball, 2 strike count. Here it is. Almost hit him. So Cody Hoyer has put the first 2 men on here in the top half of the 7th as he lets Athey get away. And they will wait for the hitter to be announced as Todd Butler has made his way out of the dugout. He has signaled down to the pen, and that will be all for the Shocker right-hander. 6+ shutout innings for Cody Hoyer. He will depart, and a new arm coming in. We'll tell you all about it when we come back on WSU TV.
Look at you. You're at the top of your game. You're unstoppable. Nothing can throw you off track. Wait, is that your car? Uh-oh. Yeah, I saw that coming. That will throw you off track. You're looking at around 10 grand in fines, legal fees, and increased insurance rates. Let's try this again. Smart move. Because buzz driving is drunk driving.
Charles Koch Arena is the place where we gather as a community to compete against the very best. Now our game plan is to renovate Koch Arena by adding a new student-athlete success center. Your tax-deductible gift can help deliver that slam dunk. Join us at the level that is right for you. Donate online at wichita.edu/shocktheworld.
Times he's gone multiple innings McGinnis has been a versatile cog and a very vital cog thus far in a bullpen that maybe had some questions at the beginning of the year. I guess you could call it middle relief, more like a swingman almost, but he has been important no matter which way you slice it. And he's in a crucial spot here to help the Shockers continue the success that Hoyer had.
The batter is Zach Rapinski, who walked and singled in his 2 trips against Cody Hoyer. And McGinnis will make an inside move to second just to see if Rapinski had any designs on bunting. I would be a little surprised if Nebraska elected to do so here, trailing by 5. The runner at second is Hallmark. Athey is on at first, a single and a walk for those 2 respectively. McGinnis, his first pitch is a breaking ball that dips low.
Well, you liked the opportunity that Hoyer had to come in, pretty much give everything he had in this start, gets about 100 pitches today. He worked well, especially after settling down. A lot of that work was in those first 3 innings. But I think there's also shown some trust in what this bullpen has done.
That's drilled at Alec Bohm. Throw back to second. Got him. A missile right at Alec Bohm. It turns into a 5-4 double play. And just what the doctor ordered for Wichita State.
This ball is hit right at Alec Bohm, and he's able to make a good throw and find Boyer. You see him catch it right off the turf, get the throw in. I think, and I'm sorry I said Boyer, I meant Luke Ritter. Ritter might have had a shot at first base on the back end for that 3rd guy, but he did the right thing, was very concerned about getting that second out and made sure of getting that one as well.
So now it's Henwood who swings and misses through the first pitch. What's interesting about this is it was Clayton McGinnis on the mound last year in a 1st and 2nd nobody out situation when Wichita State turned to triple play against Valparaiso on an eerily similar ball to that one. The only difference is this time Bohm caught it in the air. 0-1, swing and a miss again. McGinnis had 0-2, and there very well may have been a chance for 3, but he'll certainly take the 2.
Absolutely.
And now the Shockers 1 pitch away from getting out of the 7th inning unscathed.
I don't think if he had let that one bounce, he would have had the same shot for either 2 or 3 on that play. He made the quickest play.
Bounce to second base. Luke Ritter waits back on it, sets and throws, and Clayton McGinnis gets the Shockers out of trouble in the top half of the 7th. We'll stretch them out here at X Stadium. It's 5-0 Wichita State on WSU TV.
Got a quarter?
Clayton McGinnis gets out of trouble in the top half of the 7th thanks to a double play and a ground out. Wichita State now carries their 5-0 lead into the bottom half of the 7th inning. Keegan Watson, who came on to get the final out of the 6th, will continue his work into the 7th to face Gunnar Troutwine, Jordan Boyer, and Alex Jackson.
Well, I'll tell you what, the Shockers have benefited from the bounce of the ball today. The big inning in the 4th opened up by the error, and then they cashed in. But going back to that 7th inning, Clayton McGinnis inherits trouble. The Shockers get a ball right at Alec Bohm, and then they get out of it with the ground ball. But it's one of those things, right? You think sometimes people easily dismiss some of those opportunities as being lucky. But for the Shockers, they worked to put themselves into those opportunities, and then they've been cashing in on them, and today has been no different.
Gunnar Troutwine 0 for 2 with a couple of ground outs so far. His first look at Keegan Watson is a fastball high.
I'll tell you another thing that I liked about the Shockers in general today is they have seemed to be the aggressors in much of this game. They forced Luis Alvarado into some tough situations. And that was a big way back in the 6th inning after Bohm gets on via the walk. You have Duga's bunt, and then Mason O'Brien ends up coming up with another clutch hit. But those are situations that the Shockers are creating right now against Nebraska.
Swing and a miss by Troutwine. A game that's kind of playing out similar to this past weekend against Omaha, in which Wichita State did not record a whole lot of hits, just 14 over the course of those 3 games, and they used them to score 13 runs. They've got 5 runs on just 4 hits so far this afternoon, but they have certainly made the most of them. 2-2 now to Troutwine. That can be so demoralizing for an opponent to only allow 4 hits and look up on the scoreboard and be down 5 runs.
I think sometimes the Shockers' good offense, it doesn't have to put up big numbers all the time. It's just offense when the time is right.
Troutwine back up the middle. That's going to squirt on into center field, and a leadoff single for Wichita State here in the bottom half of the 7th.
Wichita State has not missed a lot of opportunities this year. You're going to see Troutwine here. This is, I believe, a breaking ball down in the zone, and he just goes right back up the box into center field, and the leadoff man aboard for Wichita State.
So we'll see how Wichita State wants to play it down at the bottom part of their order. Jordan Boyer with a man aboard at first base and nobody out. Took a step out and looked down at third base coach Sammy Esposito, flashed through a series of signs. We'll see if he is asked to bunt. Roscom in at third base, expecting just that. Boyer squares and takes outside. The Shockers getting 4 runs in the 4th on Mason O'Brien's grand slam, and then adding another insurance run in the 6th when O'Brien singled home Alec Bohm. All the runs against the starter Alvarado. His book is now closed after 5 2/3. No sign of a bunt this time from Boyer, and another fastball away.
Well, and as Wichita State closed the book on Alvarado, they certainly disguised what was a really good performance for him. He was very efficient early on, and he was tough to hit. They had a hard time really finding holes through those first couple innings.
2-0. Grab the inside corner. Boyer can't believe it. A fastball that just nipped the inner black from Watson. So the chess match continues, as now will the bunt be back on for Boyer with the count 2 balls and a strike. Troutwine, a below average runner on at first base, small lead for him. Boyer swinging away, had a good cut, fouls it back 2-2.
You know, one thing I was going to mention as you talked about O'Brien's RBI single was the opportunities that the Shockers have cashed in pretty consistently. In Louisiana, it seemed like there were just so many base runners in that series. They left 13 guys on last weekend. They've only left 2 on today. When they've been presented with guys in scoring position or guys on base, they've done their best to come up with those timely hits.
Boyer stays alive on a breaking ball. 2 balls, 2 strikes. And that was an area that last year I think this Wichita State team struggled with. There were plenty of opportunities to either A, put games away, or B, get back into games in those kind of situations, and this team did not come through. It was a point of emphasis in the offseason, a point of emphasis leading up to this year, and the early returns are promising. 2 balls, 2 strikes. Watson bounces it outside. It's going to skip by Wilkening back to the screen, and that will move Troutwine up to second.
There were a lot of conversations last year just about local radio in town would talk about should the Shockers bunt more, and you think about some of the big guys. You're going to see the free 90 feet that the Shockers are going to take advantage of. This is ball in the dirt. Troutwine read it well, and he gets an easy jog up to second base. But that was a large part of the offensive struggles. Everybody knew the numbers were there. They knew the bats were there.
Hoyer, a good cut on a 3-2 fastball. That's what you're trying to do with it. Smacks it foul off to the right side.
And this is a guy right here. I think Boyer's kind of one of the definitions of that success, of a guy who comes out. He led the team with 2 out RBIs last year. He was a primary RBI guy for the Shockers, and he does it all from the bottom of the lineup.
Another 3-2 from Watson. That's low, ball 4. Good at bat from Jordan Boyer, and he earns himself a free pass. The Shockers have put their first 2 men on here in the 7th with a chance to really blow the doors off this.
You get that feeling, right? You have Alex Jackson coming up, and then you have the 2 guys that you're just waiting for Genesta and Bohm to contribute to a crooked number on the scoreboard. But this goes back to your question about Nebraska and just kind of the questions that the Cornhuskers have about their pitching staff in general. When you lose 5 guys before season starts, or just without 5 guys that you would be relying on 9 games into the season.
Nearly another wild pitch there from Watson as Wilkening had to make another backhand stab.
And it's almost like you're seeing some freshman jitters right now from the righty Watson. He has been a little erratic thus far in his 16 pitches. But this is a situation, the Shockers are pretty relaxed in these at-bats. They're waiting for him to challenge them.
Jackson squares, gets it down in front of the plate. The only play is going to be to first. Throw there in time, but a successful sacrifice for Alex Jackson moves Troutwine to third and Boyer to second with 1 out.
Well, I like it. It's another aggressive move because here's your choice for Watson now. You're either going to walk Genesta and load him for Bohm, not a great idea, or now you have to pitch to Genesta and Bohm with 2 guys in scoring position. Not necessarily the best bunt in the world by Jackson right back to the pitcher, but it does the job. There were really no options as Nebraska was basically trying to choke the defense and prevent or make sure they at least got the out at first there.
Infield's going to come all the way in against Genesta, who is very happy to see Luis Alvarado out of there. And another good stop from Wilkening. He has had a rough day back there, just in terms of the work he has had to put in. Has done a very good job in keeping balls in front and saved a couple of runs for the Cornhuskers already.
Well, the numbers are pretty plain with Jesse Wilkening behind the plate offensively. He came in hitting .346, but we've really got to see him work defensively and handling the pitching staff. And it's just another area where you can tell that he's a guy who excels both offensively and defensively.
Genesta's ahead 2-0, and I'm not sure if he's going to get anything to hit.
But here's the dice roll, right? Is okay, you're going to be careful with Grayson Genesta, but all that does is get you into a situation where you have a guy hitting above 500 with lots of power coming to the plate. Not necessarily a choice that a manager wants to make.
2-0 is bounce. 3 balls, no strikes.
But they're certainly not challenging Grayson right now. It seems more like they're trying to see if he'll get himself out.
Might just see a 3-0 breaking ball here. It's that kind of approach against Genesta. Keegan Watson, freshman right-hander, off the first base side of the rubber. There's a fastball, strike 3-1.
Well, I go back to Jackson's bunt because it kind of falls in the same vein as Duga's back in the 6th. The Shockers are making Nebraska make some tough decisions right now. And exactly how they're approaching Genesta has to be a lot of turmoil in that Nebraska dugout.
3-1 is a changeup that fades outside, and Grayson Genesta will trot down to first base. It's the second walk of the inning for Keegan Watson. And the bases are loaded full of Shockers for Alec Bohm. Wokening will come out from behind home plate for a quick word with his freshman right-hander, and that may be all for him. A call has been made down to the bullpen. We're going to have a new Nebraska arm when we come back. It is 5-0 Wichita State here on WSU TV.
I understand. I know it's not your typical resume.
Okay, well.
But candidate. But I've been working double shifts just to pay for books. I've been raising my 2 little brothers. I'm determined, driven, motivated. Isn't that what you're looking for?
Look beyond the resume and discover new ways to develop great talent at gradsoflife.org.
Another freshman right-hander making his way out of the left field bullpen for the Nebraska Cornhuskers as Andrew Abrahamowitz takes over with the bases loaded full of Shockers and 1 out here in the bottom half of the 7th inning. The Shockers in front 5-0, and there you saw why. 4 runs in the 4th and 1 more in the 6th, all courtesy of Mason O'Brien up to this point, but a chance for the Shockers to really stretch this one out against Abrahamowitz. 2 appearances for him, no wins or losses. The ERA right at 9 in a couple of innings of work. 2 strikeouts, 2 walks as one freshman takes over for another.
Well, Darren Erstad certainly hasn't been shy about allowing his freshman relievers to get into some tough spots. But I think some of the logic behind this move has to be at least a fresh arm that Bohm hasn't been watching throw for about 30 pitches here, at least a different look.
Alec Bohm is grounded out to short, reached on an error by the center fielder Hallmark, then walked. He has scored a couple of runs for Wichita State. Now has a chance to drive in a couple. First one from Abrahamowitz, swing and a miss. Fastball at 85 miles an hour by the bat of Bohm, and it's 0-1. 2 home runs, 8 RBI entering play this afternoon for Bohm. He had a monster series against Omaha, going 5 for 9.
Outfield pretty deep. Shockers should be able to get 2 on a single pretty easily.
And that is kind of the trade-off when you have to play so deep with the wind blowing out, is that anything into the outfield in front of those 3 outfielders is pretty much a guaranteed 2 runs at this point for Wichita State. The speed gets a little bit better as you work your way from 3rd to 1st. Bohm is at 2-1.
Well, Alec in the driver's seat, and we've talked a ton on these broadcasts already this year, Danny, about Bohm's power, but one of the things that impresses scouts as well is his patience. He has become a very complete hitter and a very disciplined one. He's in the driver's seat here.
Checks his swing and watches a changeup drop low. 3 balls and a strike, and I do not envy Andrew Abrahamowitz right here. 3 balls and a strike, bases loaded, nowhere to put Alec Bohm. Nebraska wants to be in this game. This is a very important pitch. High drive, deep left field. That one is long gone. The 2nd grand slam for Wichita State, and Alec Bohm just blew a hole in this game. It's 9-0 Shockers.
He's got power. We're going to see this again. And Bohm, who really can hit any place in Kansas from home plate with his pure power. Here's the second look. And he just got in it, and he knew it. I didn't see the bat flip initially, but as soon as he connected, he knew that that ball was going. That was across the street, by the way. Slowing down traffic on 21st.
Just the second time in program history that Wichita State has hit 2 grand slams in the same game. 2008, Dusty Coleman and Connor Gillespie, a couple of big leaguers, doing it against Indiana State on April 25th. And just like that, in the blink of an eye, it is 9-0. The Shockers with 9 runs on 6 hits. And 2 of them have left the ball yard for 4 runs apiece.
If at any point in this game you said you saw the Shockers getting in front 9-0 like this, I don't think you would have been telling the truth.
Dayton Dugas swinging away on 2-0, skies it behind the mound. Second baseman Henwood calls and catches, and there's 2 down. But that's the danger. You can't fall behind a guy like Bohm, especially when you don't have anywhere to put him. A hitter like that, of his caliber, when he can eliminate other pitches in a spot like that, all you're doing is painting yourself into a corner.
Well, I think I back up to what we were talking about with the bunt. The Shockers put the pressure on Nebraska by going second and third, 1 out, and okay, what are you going to do to Genesta? And then as soon as you answer that question, which I don't think Nebraska answered it the way they wanted to, but as soon as you get to that spot, well, now you've kind of painted yourself into a corner. Now you're trying to pitch to Alec Bohm and get out of the inning, and you're still trying to be careful to him. It's a slippery slope.
Luke Ritter, who's had a tough luck, 0 for 2. 2 well-struck balls. 1 to the shortstop Altavilla, 1 at the third baseman Roscom. He has also walked and scored. And that's nowhere close from Abrahamowitz. At this point, Darren Erstad kind of out of options as far as his bullpen arms goes. He's going to have to turn it over to some guys who don't have a whole lot of experience. We're going to probably see a lot more freshman arms as this weekend goes along. Ritter takes high and inside. Robbie Palkert, who is supposed to be a very important piece of this staff. Connor Curry, Reese Edens, Chad Linsman, all out with injuries. And then Jake McSteen, who is supposed to be the Saturday starter, also down. Not many teams in the country can survive 5 pitchers, all supposed to play important roles, going down. Ritter, a drive into deep center field, but it's going to hang up there for Hallmark. He makes the catch running onto the warning track, and Luke Ritter continues to be snake bitten by some tough hitting luck. But the Shockers are not. 4 runs in the bottom half of the 7th on the grand slam from Alec Bohm. It's 9-0 Wichita State on WSU TV.
Todd's a great guy. I mean, look at him. What a sweetheart. Attaboy. Wait. Todd, what are you doing? How totally selfish and un-Todd-like of you. Come on, Todd. Come on, man.
Wichita State University is Shocker Nation. We exceed expectations, push boundaries, seize opportunities, and move boldly ahead. We are student-centered and innovation-driven. It's who we are. Our vision is simple but powerful. Create, innovate, collaborate, and celebrate. With one unifying purpose: to shock the world.
The second grand slam of the season from Alec Bohm, and the second grand slam of the game for Wichita State has given the Shockers a 9-0 lead into the top of the 8th inning here at X Stadium. Denny Garrick alongside Tim Slack, bringing you the first of a 3-game series between the Shockers and the Cornhuskers. And Todd Butler is going to go ahead and turn it over to another member of his bullpen, as right-hander Robbie Evans will get a chance to make his 3rd appearance of the season for Wichita State. His previous 2 outings totaled just 2/3 of a frame, and he'll be looking to bounce back as he has allowed 2 runs over those 2 outings.
Kind of served as a right-hand specialist. That's why the ERA is so high, because he's just gotten 2 outs. But this is an excellent opportunity for Robbie to step in. And I'll tell you what, we've talked about the Shockers bullpen benefiting from the efforts that the starters have given, but this is one of the best opportunities that the bats have given them as well.
Evans will face Altavilla, Hagge, and Schreiber. It's the top of the order for the Cornhuskers. Find themselves suddenly facing a 9-0 deficit. Altavilla 0 for 3. Ground out, a couple flyouts to Travis Young, and he drills this one nearly through the wickets of Robbie Evans and on into center field for a leadoff single.
There's got to be some pent-up frustration in the Nebraska dugout today. Their lineup has been beat up a little bit after a great performance by Hoyer, and then Clayton McGinnis came in and did a great job. And this is a ball that Altavilla is just going to take right back up the middle. You're going to watch his hands. He stays on top of it the entire way through, right back up the box. That's his first hit of the game.
Hagge has walked twice and bounced to 3rd. And Evans misses low, 1 ball and no strikes. Robbie took such a big step forward from his freshman to his sophomore year. Cut the ERA down by more than 2 full points, working in nearly 3 times as many innings out of the Shocker pen. And the issue for him had always been his command, but he trimmed down on the walks. Walked just 12 in 35 1/3 innings while striking out 34. So becoming a guy that Todd Butler and Mike Steele can trust in these late inning situations.
Kind of interesting that the strikeouts per inning typically paralleling with for guys who have success for the Shockers. If they're up around a strikeout an inning, very often, and it's not always the case, but very often that means that they're taking a lot of the pressure off of themselves. But you just have power arms coming out of that bullpen as well.
And Robbie Evans' calling card, natural movement, probably has the best on this Wichita State staff. Ground ball sharply through the left side and on into left field, the base hit. Making a turn at second, but stopping is Altavilla, and a couple of singles to start things for Nebraska here in the 8th.
Well, that one was a little different. Boyer was just sucked up behind the second base bag, and Hagge stayed on top of that one that it ended up cutting away, slicing away from Boyer. See how close Boyer is to the second base bag. And I know you got to be in double play range. Kind of expecting Hagge to pull as well, it seemed like.
So Evans has put himself in a bit of a precarious situation. 2 aboard for Scott Schreiber. Breaking ball missed down and inside. Schreiber with a double his first time up to the wall in right center field, then struck out looking against Cody Hoyer before bouncing out to short his last time up.
Well, Robbie's going to get an opportunity here to work out of this, and especially with the extra grand slam coming in the bottom of the inning.
Chopper up along 3rd. Alec Boehm tried to glove it in fair territory, but by the time it came down, it was to the left of the line. It'll even up the count at a ball and a strike. Nebraska, a team searching for answers right now offensively. 6 hits and no runs for them through 7+ innings this afternoon, and have had a hard time putting things together. Of course, it doesn't help. They had a couple games against number 2 nationally, Oregon State, where they scored just 4 runs combined. But puzzle pieces being moved around as Darren Erstad searches for a lineup that makes sense and can provide some consistency 1 through 9.
Well, it's very much been the opposite of the Shockers today, almost the exact opposite, considering each team 6 hits. Nebraska has left a lot more of those opportunities on base by comparison. 5 Cornhuskers left on versus 2 Shockers coming into this inning. But you think about it, Shockers have had 8 runs on just 2 swings of the bat.
Good breaking ball. Had Schreiber guessing for something else, and he waves through it. 2-2. Clayton McGinnis, I think his efforts will get lost in the wash just a little bit with his ability to get out of that 7th inning. Now it's a 9-run game. It doesn't look nearly as important, but at the time, 5-0. Nebraska was certainly threatening with 1st and 2nd, nobody out. Now he has turned it over to Evans. Another breaking ball. Schreiber checked the swing, but he didn't go around, and it's full at 3-2.
And you even go back on top of McGinnis. O'Brien's RBI hit back in the 6th seemed like it was going to play large at the time. But the Shockers have seemed to just build momentum today.
3-2. Breaking ball on the inside corner. A called strike 3. Scott Schreiber down on strikes for a 2nd time this afternoon. He has a couple of choice words for Matt Anderson as he makes his way back to the 3rd base dugout.
We're going to see this again, and this is a payoff pitch that Schreiber thinks is well out of the zone. We'll see where it crosses right about the knees. I think Schreiber thought it was inside because that big breaker. I don't think he thought it was coming back. He also pointed down, so maybe he thought it was both off the plate and low.
Took some guts from Robbie Evans to come with a 3-2 hammer, but he threw it right where he wanted to, and he gets a big strikeout. And now jumps ahead of Wilkening 0-1.
That thing certainly is moving quite a bit, and he's not been afraid to use it both early in the count and late in the count.
A little bit of a funky, deceptive arm slot from Evans. Not quite 3/4, but he just comes at you from a somewhat odd angle. Bit of a crossfire delivery as well as he fires a 90-mile-an-hour fastball away, 1-1.
I think his mechanics, his arm slot's a big reason for that natural movement that you talked about. It's not something that you see every day, and that can be hard to pick up. But at the same time, the ball's not coming straight off his fingers like you're used to. He's not necessarily getting on top of it. He's letting the ball roll, and he's letting the ball move coming out of his hand.
One of those guys who couldn't throw a ball straight if he tried. He'll try and induce an inning-ending double play here in the 8th. Instead, he gets a swing and a miss and is ahead of Wilkening 1-2.
That's not always a good thing.
And I think that's something he kind of contributed to his command issues, to be honest, in his first couple of years. Is there's something to be said for generating natural movement, but if you don't know where it's going, that doesn't help a whole lot. Freshman year, he walked 16 in 14 innings. And you could see the flashes, but he just had a hard time putting it together. This is a different Robbie Evans now. As a little defensive swing from Wilkening keeps him alive at 1-2. 9-0 Wichita State, top of the 8th inning. First of a 3-gamer here at X Stadium. The Shockers trying to match their 7-0 start from a year ago. But this one feels different. This would be a big feather in the cap for Todd Butler and his staff. Still 1-2 to Wilkening. Last year, the Shockers started with sweeps of Grand Canyon at home, Utah Valley, and then took a midweek game from Omaha. This year, they beat the defending Southland Conference champs on the road, swept Omaha at home, and now 5 outs away from opening up a series against a Big Ten team with a victory. Just off the end of the bat from Wilkening, who's putting together a good one. Runners at 1st and 2nd, and 1 out here in the top of the 8th.
And I don't really think that this is just any Big Ten team. We've talked about some of the challenges that Nebraska is running into. One thing we haven't mentioned is they're beginning the season with 11 straight games outside of Lincoln, Nebraska. They opened the season with 8 games down in Glendale, Arizona.
Behind Wilkening all the way back to the screen. That's going to send both runners to 2nd and 3rd respectively as Wilkening had to move forward actually to avoid that baseball, and 2 in scoring position with 1 out.
And we've talked about some of the injury woes for Nebraska as well. But ultimately, this is going to be a team right in the thick of the Big Ten race at the end of the year. This is a team that has been consistent under Darren Erstad, the 7 years that he has been in Lincoln. And it's going to be a test for Wichita State.
2-2. Line foul. They were picked second in the preseason poll, just behind Indiana. And they open their Big Ten schedule with the team picked just behind them, Minnesota. But there is a long way to go before that. They've got a 9-game homestand against Cal Poly, Northern Colorado, and Northwestern State coming up. And then a 2-game midweek stretch down in Tulsa against Oral Roberts before the Huskers are back at Haymarket Park. Wilkening putting together a heck of an at-bat. This next offering from Evans will be the 10th as the count is run full at 3-2.
Oddly enough, these kind of been the at-bats that Nebraska has taken all day.
Line up the left field line and foul. Evans tried another 3-2 breaking ball, and Wilkening was out on his front foot. But that's now 5 2-strike foul balls in this at-bat.
Just go back to the differences up until this point. Nebraska has been left without the big thump to really get their offense going. They've had the chances, though.
Popped up, right field side, may come back, and it's going to reach the seats. O'Brien hustling over that way, but it made its way into about the 3rd or 4th row. Well, your point is well made about Nebraska looking for that big hit. And Wichita State now with 11 home runs on the season to Nebraska's 2. The long ball can make up for a lot of deficiencies offensively. Don't have to string together nearly as much. Grounded sharply right side. Ritter's got it on a couple of hops. A run will score, but the throw to first is in time. And Nebraska is on the board, but the Shockers will certainly trade the run for an out as it's 9-1.
But case in point, I think a big part of that is if that comes back in the first inning when they're threatening, or even in the second or third when they had Hoyer on the ropes a couple of times, it's a much different feel to momentum. Nebraska's leading 1-0, and they just didn't ever have that timely hit. When they did have the hit, the one time back in the first inning that Schreiber had driven the ball to right center, that was right after they had ran into an out on the bases. Timing has not been their friend today.
Roscom, a double, a ground out to short, and a strikeout. All the at-bats against Cody Hoyer, who is in line to pick up his second victory of the season. Shocker weekend rotation continues to impress. That has maybe been the biggest pleasant surprise through this first 7-game stretch. Down and in, 2-1. There's a lot of question marks when you put a freshman into the Saturday role. You move Connor Lungwitz from midweek to Sunday, and Cody Hoyer from the bullpen to Friday.
Well, ultimately, when you talk about the big hits, you got to come back to, well, what is that getting you? What do you need out of your starters? And I think that has been the biggest thing. When you get a starter into the 6th or 7th right now, it's creating all sorts of momentum for the Shockers. It's building confidence, and it seems like those hits are going a lot further.
Swing and a miss. Evans gets Roscom to chase. Troutwine will have to complete the put out at first. He does just that. And Nebraska turned aside in the top half of the 8th. They do get a run, but as we move to the bottom half, it is 9-1 Wichita State on WSU TV.
Introducing Dunkin's new cold brew coffee, steeped slowly in cold water for small batches with an ultra-smooth, full-bodied flavor. Discover the craft of cold brew today and keep on. America runs on Dunkin'.
My parents weren't fluent in English, so in school, I had to be independent and take initiative. And that's how I handle every project I get.
Nine to 1, Wichita State into the bottom half of the 8th inning here at X Stadium. And it'll be Mason O'Brien, Travis Young, and Gunnar Troutwine against Andrew Abrahamowitz, who was able to finally get out of the bottom half of the 7th after Wichita State put together another 4-run frame, courtesy of another grand slam from Alec Boehm. And he's one of the guys listed on the 2018 Baseball America preseason first team, alongside his center fielder, Grayson Genesta, and a lot of other impressive names represented there on that list. Nick Madrigal, the second baseman from Oregon State, and a guy that will be familiar to Wichita State fans, shortstop Jeremy Ironman from Missouri State, also finding their way onto that list.
Got to feel like tough luck for Nebraska, right? They've seen 3 of those guys already. They saw Madrigal last weekend. They see Boehm and Genesta this weekend.
Shockers are going to pinch hit for Mason O'Brien as Jacob Catsby will get a chance to swing it here in the bottom of the 8th. And so that will mark the end of a rather remarkable day for Mr. O'Brien. 3 for 3 with 5 RBI, including his first home run as a Shocker, a grand slam in the bottom half of the 4th inning. Catsby out in front of a breaking ball from Abrahamowitz. It's 1-1.
I'm telling you, Mason O'Brien, a guy that Shocker fans are going to learn to love. But this is a guy, too, Jacob Catsby. He's in a bit of a transition from the outfield, a little bit more time at first base. But he has not only swung it well, given his opportunities, but he runs really well. Kind of a versatile left-handed bat, I guess as versatile as you could be for a lefty when kind of limited to 4 positions on the field.
Well, he will get his chances this season, whether it is at first base or in one of the corner outfield spots. And I'd imagine Todd Butler will find ways to get him in the lineup against right-handed pitching. He taps this one to the right side. Abrahamowitz couldn't field it cleanly, and Catsby's going to be aboard. Have to see how they score it. Bit of an in-between play, and Jacob Catsby can get down the line in a hurry.
Yeah, it's going to be a hit. And given the thumbs up sign, this is just a cue shot, but Catsby running hard out of the box, and he's just going to make it a non-play as soon as Abrahamowitz missed it. Not a routine play for a pitcher coming off the mound and trying to secure the ball and then make the exchange.
7th hit for Wichita State as that 6th spot in the order continues to do damage. It's Catsby this time instead of O'Brien. And Travis Young will try and join the fun. He is 0 for 3. Strikeout, ground out, and a well-struck line out to deep center his last time up.
6th spot doing damage just the way Todd Butler drew it up, right?
High pop-up a mile in the air. Altavilla backing up, still drifting, and makes a rather difficult catch over his shoulder and well into the outfield.
You know, I think that's a great example of how tough this field can actually play. Remember, you have a lot of Nebraska guys who are moving around and playing in spots that they haven't played all 8 games so far. But look at that. I mean, he never really fully had a beat on it, even though he caught it. But fighting the wind, fighting the sun, I guess at this point you're even fighting some of the light stands here. It's not a routine ball as much as you want to make it out to be, because you're used to seeing everybody make that catch other places. This is not your typical field.
And Troutwine almost got hit. Had to spin out of the way of that first offering from Abrahamowitz. Troutwine 1 for 3, a single, couple groundouts.
He's been fantastic behind the plate as well today. Just continuing an excellent start to the year.
Something that can get lost, I think, and you look at a guy's offensive numbers and think of it as the sum of his value, but as far as a catcher goes, there is a lot more to it than that, and a lot of people would argue that the lion's share of a catcher's value is in their defensive prowess, their ability to handle a staff. Troutwine had a 2-0 hack, and he skies it behind home plate. Wilkening steps over the bat. It lands in fair territory, but then will spin back foul.
Oh.
The adventures continue.
Did that not hit Wilkening? Coming after it hit in fair territory, it almost looked like it might have nicked him. We'll see if we can get a second look at it. But I think the home plate umpire, Matt Anderson, was right on top of it, so I'll go with his opinion there. I'm telling you, it's tough down there.
Well, you mentioned the sun, the facade of the press box, the light towers. Throw a bat in there as far as obstacles to avoid.
Everything that could be an issue is an issue.
Troutwine's got new life. 2 balls and a strike. Takes high.
But talking about Gunnar and his defensive ability, you know, last year there was a lot of expectations for him to contribute at the beginning of the year. And I think towards the end of the year, we did see him physically wear down. And I know there's some injury stuff in there. But I think that goes to speak, you know, you talk about the importance of a catcher defensively, but they're also the guy getting beat up the most.
Troutwine again in the air, this time a little bit more playable, I thought, as Rapinski can't come up with it. And Nebraska really struggling on anything hit into the air right now. The wind's certainly a factor, but for Rapinski, that's just overrunning it. Hustled in, tried to beat the ball to the spot, and you could see the backspin just carried it right behind him. Troutwine should have been retired twice in this at-bat.
Well, you're right. He just overran it. Pretty simple as that. But Rapinski had a hard time down the right field line with the netting before. I think he might have got a little gun shy coming in towards the dugout, trying to figure out how much room he had.
3-2 foul back. Troutwine stays alive.
Denny, you're more familiar with Haymarket Park than I am. Do they have a lot of foul ground at their home stadium?
A fair amount. It's a beautiful ballpark. One of the best, not only in college baseball, but it also doubles as a professional park for the independent Lincoln Salt Dogs. And not nearly as high of a press box is the only real comparison that juts out at you, but it is a gem. 3-2, Troutwine again into the air. This is the third time. We'll see if this time he is put away. Nope. Lands in center field, hustling to second base, and out is Jacob Catsby, but this is getting a little silly right now for Nebraska. 3 pop-ups dropped, as this time it was the second baseman Henwood going out. Lands right behind him, and you can't really blame Jacob Catsby. You've got to play it halfway at best.
Oh yeah, you're expecting the defense to make this play, but this has not been routine in this inning. And this is Henwood going back and just kind of drifting. You see him get tangled up, and that ball, he never had a beat on the center fielder. Hallmark didn't really help out either as he stayed off, but he does clean up the play, and they still get the out. So it's just the fielder's choice.
Ah, yes, the classic 8-6. As Troutwine is aboard, Boyer swings and misses. 0-1.
So is this one of those times, like, apparently with the way the wind's blowing, like, is the strategy just pop it up?
I don't think that will ever be the active strategy, but it's not a bad one right now. It has been a problem in this half inning and onward for Nebraska. Just the one error, but a lot more in terms of mental errors or balls that should have been converted into outs as Boyer takes high and tight 1-1. Only 3 outs to get for Wichita State in the top of the 9th. They've had a couple of lefties warming in Trent Allen and Cody Tyler. way outside all the way back to the screen, and that's going to allow Troutwine to advance to second. Second time that he has advanced on a wild pitch.
You know, some of the Nebraska's mistakes notwithstanding today, I think you got to go back to when this was nip and tuck in the 4th inning, and Luis Alvarado seemed like he was fully in control of this game. The Shockers did their best to become the aggressors in this game, and I think it is kind of slid to the point that it's at. But Wichita State
skied into center field by Boyer. Hallmark's going to retreat, set, and make the catch. And the inning comes to a close. An adventurous one for Nebraska. No runs across for Wichita State. We'll move to the 9th. Shockers need 3 more outs. It's 9-1 on WSU TV.
See on page 4 that the projections need to be tornado next Thursday.
Seriously? Thursday? Can't do that.
This is really inconvenient.
I have yoga that day.
I have no time for this.
So
I can't do Thursday, but I can do Friday.
Disasters don't plan ahead. You can. Talk to your loved ones about how you're going to be ready in an emergency. Don't wait. Communicate.
This year, patriotism shouldn't just be about pride of country. It should be about love. Remember that to love America is to love all Americans, because love has no labels.
Shockers need 3 more to cap off a series opening victory over the Nebraska Cornhuskers. They lead 9-1 in the top of the 9th inning, and Todd Butler is going to turn it over to left-hander Trent Allen, redshirt freshman from Southlake, Texas, making his first appearance in a Wichita State uniform here at X Stadium, and a chance to put a bow on what has been a pretty impressive and pretty thorough performance from Wichita State on both sides of the ball.
Well, we were just starting to talk about it a little bit. The Shockers became the aggressors in this one, and it was Cody Hoyer who really helped set the tone. He settled down in the top of the 4th inning, got an 8-pitch inning before the Shockers did their damage, and it was the grand slam by Mason O'Brien that sparked it all. O'Brien contributed another run in the 5th with another RBI, but then it was Alec Bohm hitting the second grand slam of the game, his second of the year, that blew it open and kind of turned the conversation a little bit, but really thought the Shockers worked for this one to get it to this point. Now just trying to close win number 7 out.
Allen will face Jackson Hallmark to get it started. Nebraska center fielder is 1 for 3 with a single and a couple of strikeouts. He watches strike 1. Allen, as you can tell, big projectable left-hander, 6'5", 200 pounds. Redshirted a year ago and stayed around the area. He played his summer ball for the Cheney Diamond Dogs. He played in the NBC World Series here in Wichita. Chopper down to third base. Bohm slings it across to Catsby, and Hallmark is retired.
Trent Allen, all sorts of funky coming at you. Big lefty, lots of awkward movement. Probably unfair to call it awkward, but a lot of abrupt movement. And then he's got that right foot firmly on the first base side, so he's closed off. And this is going to be an adventure for the left-hand hitter Athey, trying to pick up the ball coming out of his hand.
Allen works exclusively out of the stretch. There's a breaking ball that just missed inside. 1-0.
Might as well be coming from the first base dugout for a left-handed hitter. He's coming behind him.
Typically, a guy with this kind of arm slot and this kind of deception would start on the first base side of the rubber to kind of accentuate that angle. But sometimes when you have a guy with the long limbs, 6'5", like Trent Allen, you want to move him to the other side just to kind of cut down on that leverage just a little bit. There's a good strike, 2-1.
Yeah, I think that's an excellent point. He starts with that back left foot on the third base side, and part of that is because that movement. If you're coming too far from the right field side, it's going to be hard to get the ball to move all the way back across the plate like that.
He drills Athey, a breaking ball that never quite came back. And the Huskers designated hitter will trot down to first base. But Allen still with plenty of room to work with in an 8-run ball game and only 2 outs to get, as Zach Rapinski will stand in. Same 2 teams tomorrow afternoon. 2 o'clock start. Liam Eddy and Nate Fisher going at it. A right-hander for Wichita State, a lefty for the Huskers. And it's Connor Lungwitz and Matt Warren, 2 righties squaring off in the series finale on Sunday. Another 2 o'clock first pitch. Allen misses in tight. Ball on the strike on Rapinski. He has walked, singled, and then lined into a double play his last time. There you get a look at the upcoming schedule for Wichita State. They wrap up this season opening homestand with a midweek against SIU Edwardsville before it's down to Tulsa for a midweek against Oral Roberts. All those games available on WSU TV.
It'll be a busy week for the Shockers after this weekend series. First time that they've not only had a midweek game in general, they'll have back-to-back midweek games.
That'll give a chance to see some arms that may not have been featured as much in these first 7 ball games. Allen has fallen behind Rapinski 3-1.
Well, that's kind of what we were alluding to at the top of the broadcast when we talk about the importance of starters going deep, as Cody Hoyer did today, because you want to preserve as many arms as possible for those midweek series. That allows guys to get fresh innings, kind of test their length as well.
Allen slings a strike across the inside edge and runs it full on Rapinski, 3-2. We've discussed in the past some candidates for those midweek slots and who Todd Butler might elect to go with, but there are a lot of names to choose from. Rapinski out in front, lashes it foul. We'll do it again.
Well, you certainly feel like the weekend series will help dictate that a little bit.
Three balls, 2 strikes. Athey at first, 1 out. Drilled to the gap in right center field. No one's going to get to this one. It will take 1 bounce and go over the wall for a ground rule double. So Zach Rapinski drives an extra base hit to the gap in right center field. The 3rd double of the afternoon for the Cornhuskers, but it has been too little too late. Hard to fault Trent Allen on 3 balls and 2 strikes with an 8-run lead for coming right after Rapinski, and just a good piece of hitting, driving this one the other way.
Thought it was a great piece of hitting to go to right center field on that one. Stayed on it the entire way. That ball had quite a bit of carry to it.
Pinch hitter coming to the plate for Nebraska as Gunnar Hellstrom will come off the Nebraska bench. He will bat for Alex Henwood, who will finish 0 for 3, a couple ground outs and a flyout. Hellstrom swings it from the right side, and Todd Butler is not going to let Trent Allen face the right-hand hitter. So a move to the bullpen coming up. We'll tell you about the new Wichita State pitcher when we return. 9-1 Wichita State our score. You're watching on WSU TV. Shockers in front 9-1 in the top half of the 9th inning, needing 2 more outs to seal this. And one redshirt freshman will take over for another as Preston Minor makes his way out of the Shocker bullpen in relief of Trent Allen. Allen faced 3, got a ground out, a hit by pitch, and a double. And so Minor inherits runners at second and third with 1 out in the top of the 9th inning. Goes 6'2", 185 pounds from Frisco, Texas. And there you see the numbers for him. 3 appearances on the season, totaling an inning and 2/3. He has allowed 4 hits and a run, with 1 strikeout and 1 walk. Facing the pinch hitter, Gunnar Hellstrom. Athey at third and Rapinski at second. Nebraska trying to get some good feelings going into Saturday and Sunday. This is Sidewinder Minor misses up and away 1-0. Minor faced 1 batter over the weekend against Omaha and issued a walk. Did not record an out or allow a hit. Pitched twice down in Lake Charles against McNeese State and throws a strike to even it up at 1-1. So we've seen a funky guy from the left side and now a little funk from the right side as well. Minor works off the first base side of the rubber and has that low 3/4 delivery. Popped up, shallow right field. Catsby backing up onto the outfield turf and makes the catch for the second out.
Well, even the guys who play here every day have some adventures sometimes with the pop-ups here, and Catsby had to dance to make that catch, but stuck with it the entire way.
So back to the top of the order and 1 more out to get for Wichita State. It's Angelo Altavilla. Been aboard once in 4 trips and scored the lone Nebraska run after singling in the 8th. Came around to score on Wilkening's RBI groundout. Switch hitter who swings it from the left side. Almost hit him, skips in low.
You know, one thing, Denny, you mentioned Minor with a little bit of a different angle from the right side versus Allen from the left. The Shockers do have a pretty good variety of arms. They don't all have the same profile coming out of the bullpen. Mind you, a couple years ago, the Arizona Diamondbacks used to have that. They had a guy like Josh Colmenter who came straight over the top, and then Brad Ziegler, who was a submariner.
There's a strike for Minor, 1-1.
And it certainly gives Mike Steele and Todd Butler plenty of options. It almost like picking which tool is the right one for the job, which arm is the right one for the situation.
Bounce down and outside. Good block by Troutwine, 2-1. We've gotten a look at several of those options here this afternoon. 5 pitchers for Wichita State. Hoyer went the first 6. McGinnis and Evans an inning apiece. Trent Allen retired 1 hitter. Preston Minor has retired 1, and now a chance to end it right here. It's the Nebraska shortstop Angelo Altavilla. 2-1. Bounced foul up the first base line, 2-2. So barring something miraculous, Wichita State will have a chance for an 8-0 start tomorrow afternoon. Expecting fairly good weather again here in Wichita for the duration of this weekend series. Love to see a good crowd out here at the Eck tomorrow and on into Sunday. 2 balls, 2 strikes. Foul back. Altavilla nearly fell over himself trying to stay alive.
Looked like one of the most painful swings I think I've ever seen. He lunged and twisted. Anything he had to do to fight it off.
It is very much a frisbee breaking ball from Preston Minor. A lot of side-to-side movement. And even as a left-handed hitter, getting a better look at it can be difficult. This misses away with a fastball, and it's run full, 3 balls and 2 strikes. Just past the 6 o'clock hour. This game makes its way up on 3 hours. Two on, 2 out. Full count. Grounded right side. Catsby backing up. Got it. Underhand flip to Minor covering in time. And there it is. Wichita State. A thorough 9-1 victory in the series opener over the Nebraska Cornhuskers. Tim and I will take a break. Be back to wrap it up with the final totals. You're watching on WSU TV.
I was living in a shelter, juggling 3 jobs. I had to be resilient. That's something that you can't teach.
Introducing Dunkin's new cold brew coffee, steeped slowly in cold water for small batches with an ultra-smooth, full-bodied flavor. Discover the craft of cold brew today and keep on. America runs on Dunkin'.
Wichita State, an impressive 9-1 victory in the series opener against the Nebraska Cornhuskers. They did all their scoring in 3 different innings, 2 of those courtesy of some bases clearing long balls, a couple of grand slams for Wichita State, and they got it started in the 4th inning after Luis Alvarado had looked dominant through the first 3. The Shockers put 3 men aboard for Mason O'Brien.
And O'Brien came through in the clutch once again, and this is a big situation where he was able to find a pitch to drive. First pitch coming out of the hand of Alvarado in that at-bat. He saw 2 pitches from Alvarado in those 2 at-bats.
Shockers added an RBI single in the 6th, but it was the 7th inning where they really broke it open. Alec Boehm leaving the ball yard, leaving 21st Street to left field. An absolute bomb that put this one out of reach at 9-0. And from there, Wichita State coasts to the victory. Cody Hoyer picks up the W. He improves to 2-0 on the young season. Luis Alvarado picks up the loss. He falls to 0-1. Same 2 teams tomorrow, 2 o'clock first pitch. It's Liam Eddy against Nate Fisher right back here at Tyler Field and X Stadium. For my partner Tim Slack, my name is Dennon Gehrig. Thank you so much for watching. This has been a production of WSU TV.